since we're going live. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. F it. Let's see if I'm...
TikTok.
Yeah, okay. I am live. Hello, Ardent. How are you? You can get the right window up here. There we go. Good to see you in the stream. Nice and early. We'll just hang out and do a little pregame when some people get here. Welcome to the live stream. Oh, Ryan's here also. Hello. Hello, Ryan. And today's live stream, I was going to save a bunch of stuff, but I ended up doing a video on it. We could talk about it a little bit here. It's not really a bombshell, I guess. Kind of sad to say, but there's this actor named Matthew Lawrence that we'll talk about. He had some revelations about Hollywood that sound familiar. That he was intimidated in a sexual way by a big Hollywood player. I know, Joan. It is shocking. It is very shocking, Joan. Joan desperately wants something because she can't go outside because it's raining. There's nothing worse. The only thing worse than Joan is a wet Joan. Right, Joan? Right, Joan? So why don't you sit here? Joan will be just off camera. I know everybody wants to see your cuteness, and you're just being cute off camera. What good are you? What good are you, Joan? I got to redesign the whole office around you and the live stream. Yeah, I need a little chair for you to just swing around in the background. Might keep you occupied for a few minutes. She ain't gonna last long today. So my week, pretty nondescript this week. I had an easy week. Last week I had done 5 events. Previous week I only did 1 at the West Windsor Library, which went okay. I didn't sell a lot of books, but went okay. And then I had nothing going this weekend. Ardent says hello, Ryan. And but next week, big weekend, Level Up Entertainment, the Mays Landing Mall, which I think is called the Hamilton Mall. Not Middle Jersey Hamilton, but South Jersey Hamilton Mall. And then Sunday, the 7th, at LBI Book Swap, which I friggin' cleaned up at last year. So I can't wait to go back in nicer weather and really do some damage, as they say. Ryan says, how are you doing, Ardent Party? So, what time is it? All right, so we got about 2 minutes. What else? Not a lot. Just took it easy this week. Rained a lot, and that's about it, really. Oh, come on, Joan. You're not even going to last till 7? I mean, that's pathetic. It's pathetic. We're going to have to renegotiate your contract. Thanks for your donations last week. I did get Joan some treats. Not that she deserves any. Not that you deserve any, dog. You know? You stink dog. I know I'm going to put you on the floor, and you're going to go running outside this room and just start barking. And that will make me unhappy. So why don't you go to sleep for like 10 minutes and just hang out here? No? No deal? How about if I give you a treat? Would you like a treat? How about that? I'll give you one of the treats I bought with donations last week. Arnett, tending the plague-ridden Stormy kids gave her the sick. Oh, no. Well, I hope she feels better. So, are they all sick or just Stormy sick now? Knock on wood, I haven't been sick for a good while. I don't get sick a tremendous amount. It's right there, John. Here. Poor thing's got no teeth. But I don't know what I'm going to do if I get sick, like really sick, for a week. It'll probably wreck my entire deal for a while. Right, Joan? Who's going to feed you? No one. You'll just have to go back to eating garbage you find on the floor. And there's not a lot of that here. So you're going to be very hungry. All right. Really? That treat, it only bought me like 30 seconds. All right. It's 7 o'clock. So you made it to 7. I guess Joan's leaving. Here. Ardent. One by one, they're getting better. I'm either next or immune. Well, I hope you're immune. Perhaps you are. Perhaps you are. Anyhow, getting back to this Matthew Lawrence thing. Crazy. So Matthew Lawrence is on a podcast with his brothers where he reveals that an Oscar-winning producer, he said he could have a big part in the MCU, but only if he came to his hotel room and did stuff. Naked stuff. Naked adult stuff. And he declined, but he did not name the director. Now, I did a video, and my thinking is, it's an Oscar-winning director, but if he was there to offer him a part in the MCU, I would think he'd have to be one of the MCU directors. So I looked up all the MCU directors I could and found there's only 4 that have won Oscars. One is a woman, Chloe Zhao, and the other 3 are men. Kenneth Branagh, Taika Waititi, and Joe Johnston. So it's kind of horrifying. And the thing that kills me is that nobody's recorded one of these sessions. Although, now that I think about it, Weinstein was recorded. But like, if the red flags go up and you're in LA and you know this is going to happen, I think you're okay legally if you record it, because it is illegal to do that to someone, even though it's illegal to record someone without their permission, I think, in California. Ardent, what? A Hollywood director being a pervert? Never. I know who my money is on. Yeah. So it's just very sad. But it amazes me that none of these guys have been really caught. But it could not be true. I mean, that's happened before too. People make stuff up. But I mean, if it, Terry Crews came out with a story, and I believe him. He doesn't seem like a guy to me that would lie. Not like that. So, but you never know. You never know. So, I haven't had any personal experience in that realm, other than a producer invited me to a party, but I don't know. I found that's pretty innocuous, but it was a weird situation because I didn't think he wanted me to go to the party because he wanted to do business. I think he just wanted to hang out with me. I don't know that for sure because I didn't go, but that's the closest thing I have to say about it. Ardent, which cut of Jedi are they re-releasing? Bottom of the page. I don't know. Was there another cut, like after, like they did with the first one, where they added a bunch of stupid cutscenes? I don't think so. I don't remember there being a bunch cut out in the last movie. I mean, that was the one cool thing about the recut of the first movie when they added the extra Jabba scene, but beyond that, it wasn't much. Really threw the whole pacing of the movie off. The other interesting scene that was cut from the first movie too was like Luke's other friends that got completely cut out of the movie, I think, except maybe at the very tail end. Some backstories about some of the fighters, which seems superfluous. You could tell, like, why all that stuff was cut. It was cut for time to streamline the movie and make it flow better. But yeah, I'm not sure of the cut. I mean, it's doing really well. Let's get into that, by the way. So Super Mario Brothers continues to dominate. Domination. We're at 1 billion. Yep, they predicted it, and the predictions have come to pass. International box office 532 million, domestic 490. Ardent hand shot first. He absolutely did. But again, you know, for Mario Brothers, this hasn't even opened in Japan. Japan is an easy, I'm going to say an easy 100 million, 200 million, I would think, possibly more, just in Japan. And then it hasn't opened in South Korea either, so I think that'll do decently there. So I think Mario's going to have at least another $200 million weekend when those two, internationally anyway, when those two drop. But yeah, so I'm sure there's a sequel in the works. JEC, hi hi, and everyone says hello. So yeah, Chris Pratt with another big movie, and then this weekend coming up will be Guardians of the Galaxy, which I hear is decent, but it isn't tracking on Hollywood wise to do that well, probably because of Marvel fatigue, superhero fatigue, Guardians of the Galaxy fatigue, quite frankly. I mean, the Christmas special was okay. It was better than the second one. The second one's not good. Nah. I mean, Kurt Russell's in it, and I love Kurt Russell, but the movie's kind of boring and bland, and it doesn't really build to anything. Part of the problem. So the third movie will probably be a big send-off. I'm guessing somebody dies, and possibly Pratt, possibly Rocket Raccoon, and I don't know. I don't feel like a super urge to see it because of the second one, but I kind of want to see it. But I'm also kind of like, I'll wait for the nerds to see it and see if they like it. And then if they like it, well, I'll catch it at some point. Maybe I'll go to the theaters. Maybe. But, I mean, it shouldn't do poorly. And that really, the box office for Pratt is very good. I mean, Mario Brothers is $1 billion. I think one of the Jurassic Park movies cracked $1 billion. Did very well in either case, and so his box office is pretty stellar. I mean, what's the worst movie he did? I think it's probably going to be Garfield, which he's doing next. I don't know why they keep making Garfield movies. I don't think any of them did good, but so. I mean, their general audience, I get it, but don't know why they're trying to go for theatrical release. I guess everybody knows who Garfield is, but like newspapers are done, comic strips are done. But I never saw the cartoon as being all that popular. Not like Peanuts. Like Peanuts, super popular. But I don't know that they ever did a theatrical release of the Peanuts. Or that they should. Maybe. I mean, maybe, like a big movie. And the Peanuts go to Washington or something. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't even know if they would do all that well. I just don't see Garfield doing that well. It's just not going to be that big of a story. But expect a bunch of video game movies after Mario Brothers, I assume. Evil Dead Rise, number 2, second week, 12.2 billion, million, excuse me, billion. That would be insane. Every person on the planet saw Evil Dead Rise. 86 million worldwide. It's not bad for a horror movie. I don't know. It it gives me conflicting vibes because of the name. If you had renamed it something, I don't know. JC, what was that one where the Peanuts go to France? Wasn't that one out in the theaters? Maybe. I guess the Peanuts go to France? and Charlie Brown tries to marry the redheaded girl? I don't know. But I would think that would have a shot at doing okay for a kids movie, but even that, Peanuts is sort of fading into the rear view. I know a lot of people my age love it. I don't know about kids. Like my nephews and niece, I don't think they kind of know what it is. They've seen it, but they're not like fans of it. They didn't grow up with it. They grew up with other stuff, so maybe it was that one. Let's see. Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown. I guess that had a theatrical release. Let's see. Is that what it was called? Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown. Oh, yeah. And Don't Come Back. How do we tell if it had a theatrical release, though? Probably how long it was? An hour and 15. No. I don't think this had a theatrical release if it was only an hour and 15 minutes. Snoopy Come Home. A Boy Named Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown's All-Stars. Maybe if they packaged this in with some shorts. Ardent. Snoopy goes to the... I don't know what that word is. Passchendaele? What's a Passchendaele? I don't know what that is. A Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown. They're all here. He's Your Dog, Charlie Brown. It's Easter. It's the Easter Beagle, Charlie Brown. You're Love, Charlie Brown. You're Not Elected, Charlie Brown. Be My Valentine, Charlie Brown. A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. Happy New Year, Charlie Brown. Short Summer, Charlie Brown. Man, there's a lot of Charlie Browns. And they never did a Joe Cool spin-off movie. That's what they need. Joe Cool, the movie. Joe Cool. I love that song. Yeah, so Evil Dead Rise. I just can't... I'm sure it's good. It looks good. Looks well done. Ardent. Passchendaele, good pronunciation. Guess, by the way, you nailed it, was a battlefield in the First World War. Oh, okay. Now I get it. Ryan, hello, Disney, the Christmas Carol. Hello, Disney, the Christmas Carol? It says it made $2 million at the box office. Oh, it did. And only an hour and 15 minutes? They must have played something else with it then. So, hello, Disney, the Christmas Carol. You mean hello, Charlie Brown, a Christmas Carol? Ryan? I guess it must have had a release. Maybe because it was a G-rated movie, they released it because they figured kids would go see it. It wouldn't matter that was only an hour and 15 minutes. Because when you're talking Charlie Brown, you're talking real little kids, like little kids who can't sit still for, 2 hours. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm all for shorter movies. I think movies are too long. I guess they must have released it. B-I-A-B, maybe. Duty Calls. All right. Happy Duty. Number 3, which premiered, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Ryan. No, Disney, The Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey. JC, tack a short cartoon on and it's a movie. Yeah, that's I got to think it was that. They definitely have Peanuts shorts, so I still don't know what Ryan's trying to tell me. No Disney The Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey. All right, I have to look it up now. Disney A Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey. Christmas at Disney was a mistake. Jim Gaffigan. Walt Disney. Mickey's Christmas Carol, you mean? I don't know. I don't know, Ryan. The Christmas Carol. Let me try that. That's probably going to come up a million things. You mean the Muppet Christmas Carol? Christmas Carol, the movie? Kate Winslet. Christmas Carol, the musical. Kelsey Grammer. The Smurfs, A Christmas Carol. Oh, here it is. A Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey and Gary Oldman. Okay. I don't think Peanuts were in this one. And no Muppets, nothing. Why? Was this a short movie? Is that the point you're trying to make? How long was this movie? Doesn't say. Colin Firth was in it too. And I don't recognize anybody else. Oh, Bob Hoskins was in it. I miss Bob Hoskins. He was good. CGI Christmas Carol. Yeah, it kind of looks that way on the poster. 2009. 2009. Oh, those were the days. Those were the days before everything went woke and what the hell. But Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret premiered to 6.8 million. For some reason, everybody in Hollywood thought this would be the biggest thing ever. Not sure why. I know it, it was a popular book, but I think this is about, 20 years too late. I think if you released this movie 20 years ago, or even further back, 90s, late 80s, this would have been a monster hit. This was like a popular book, which I think came out, in the 70s. I think it takes place in the 70s. Maybe it came out in the 80s, 90s, somewhere like that. But it was a popular book. I don't know why it's taken so long to get it to screen. Maybe it's not the first time they did it. I don't know. But, 6.8 million's fine, but I don't think this was... Yeah, this is no international distribution. I don't know. Variety was like, oh, how is this not making money? How is this not the top of the box office? Because nobody goes to see movies anymore. And Are You There? Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is an old book. It was aimed at young people, but the people it was aimed at are now all old. They're older than me. And so, okay, if you wanted to aim it at kids, it's universal themes. You either had to update it, good luck, probably wouldn't work, or you had to, somehow get the word out to kids in a way that they would want to go see the damn thing. You've been trying that forever, Hollywood. How's it working so far? It's the same old story. Bunch of middle-aged people making media, trying to talk to the kids. This was my big problem back in the 80s and 90s. I'm pitching comics, and I used to bang my head against the wall because I was still young enough to remember what it was like to be a teenager. And I'd be pitching these stories, and they'd just be shooting them down, and I'd see the stories they would publish, and I'd go, "This is the story you choose to publish? This story's like 100 years old. Sounds like a 50-year-old guy wrote this story." But that's the way it works. The guys who have work tend to be my age because they get in the system and they stay there, and their best years are usually behind them before they build up a big enough name that they get all kinds of work. And then by that time, the editors have caught up to them in age, and then they're cranking out the stories that should have been out 20 years ago. Hollywood's once again following comic books down a rat hole. They're doing stories that should have come out 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I think this would have been a decent movie. I don't think it would have been a monster hit under any circumstances, but it would have been pretty decent. Now, you're releasing this movie, and by the way, it's a coming of age movie, so it's got some, uh, you know, edgy stuff in it for 1970s. But you're talking about a world we live in now where the most horrifying things are being taught in schools. So compared to schools, movies are nothing now. You know, when I go around and sell my books, people ask me, is there anything in this I should, what age is this for? And I just go, I don't know what's age appropriate anymore. Have you seen what's going on in schools? And people go, yeah. They're horrified. They don't know either. They don't know where the line is at anymore. And I just tell them, well, there's cursing and violence in the book, so read it yourself and make up your own mind. But so whatever edgy stuff that was in Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, it ain't edgy anymore. Not to kids. They've got bigger fish to fry. These kids are getting twisted around the head because of certain issues with gender, I'll say. I can't go too deep into it on a live stream before I get wrecked. So if you have a kid in this movie talking about her bodily functions, is that really going to shock anybody? I don't think so. It might have 20, 30, 40 years ago, to have a kid talk about, becoming a woman. But that's just, and then what is a woman? So I don't think there's any edge left there to mine for entertainment purposes. So who's going to take their kid to it? The kind of liberal mom that would have wanted to take their daughter to see this movie, their daughter's already in their 40s, and they're urging their grandkids to go, and their grandkids are seeing horrifying stuff in schools. That's my opinion, anyway. So moving on to something lighter, like shooting dudes in the face. John Wick 4, Chapter 4, still doing pretty good at $5 million, still holding in there. Only dropped by 14%. I mean, this movie's got legs, as they say. 369 internationally. It's pretty good. That's pretty good. I still kind of want to see it, but I haven't seen the third one, so I'll be totally lost when he shoots guys in the face. Why did he shoot that guy in the face? But I do want to see it. I'll see it. I don't know. When they put them all on, Netflix or something, probably. Yeah, out of those 5, I'd want to see John Wick or Super Mario Brothers. Maybe. John Wick would probably edge it out. And then Star Wars, Episode 6, Return of the Jedi re-release, did $4.6 million. This is how bad Disney is doing. Disney has released a film that hasn't been out for 40 years, and it was only in 475 theaters, and it's doing better than movies that premiered. It did fifth domestically. Did they have international distribution on this? I don't know. That's probably from when it first came out. So hard to rate this movie, what it would do today. David Black is here. Welcome, David. Tony, John Wick 4 was awesome. Highly recommend it, and look out for the nod to the Warriors. Ooh. Do they do the bottles? Warriors, come out and play. There's so many great bits in the Warriors. I have the Warriors video game. I don't know if you've ever played that. Oh, man. If you're a Warriors fan from the 80s movie about street gangs, man, you got to get the video game. It is awesome. It's basically you get to fight as all the gang members. They have Oh, how many original voices? Like two or three of the original cast members did voices on it. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool video game. Uh, David Black. Not the bottles, but pretty much everything else. Really? Oh, man. Now I'm intrigued. Now I'm intrigued, David. If only they had marketed it that way to me, I probably would have been seeing it. Oh, but I got to see the third movie, damn it. I do like Donnie Yen, too. I like him in Ip Man, even though he seems to be a full-blown communist. But don't think that's his fault, but it's a strike against him. What else? Yeah, so Star Wars doing very well for a movie that came out 40 years ago compared to, let's say, Dungeons and Dragons, which is in its fifth week and only did 4.1 million and is in 5 times as many theaters. And if you look at it that way, Star Wars Return of the Jedi was only in about, say, 500 theaters. If you multiply what it made by 5, you get about 20 million. It would really be number 2. If it was in, 2,500 theaters, if it was in the same amount of theaters as the Mario Brothers, you're talking 8 times, it would be doing about 32 million. So, I mean, good on Disney, I guess, for re-releasing a classic and making some money, but it goes to show you how lame current Star Wars is. That they would have to go back to this well and re-release a classic Star Wars movie just to make some real cash. Because would this cost them to re-release? Next to nothing, I would imagine. I mean, guess it's a new edition, new, better sound, and yada, 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 but that could be all done in-house with guys they're already paying for anyway. So, yeah, that seems to be like just gravy, just icing on the cake for Disney. But they've learned nothing. I guess I would go see Return of the Jedi again if I thought there was any extra scenes that I missed in it. But I've seen it a bunch of times, so I kind of don't like to see movies more than once. Even movies I like. It's just, I remember too much of it. I start watching the movie and then I remember the whole movie and I go, oh yeah, this is going to happen. Oh yeah, it just happened. Oh right, I've seen this movie. Like, I don't really get people who can watch movies again and again and again. I mean, the only exception for me are like certain comedy movies that are so funny. They're funny to me every time. But Ghostbusters, Animal House, like those kinds of movies. For some reason, I could laugh at Animal House almost every scene I've seen a million times. And if you haven't gotten it, they had a release on DVD with a bunch of extras, and they had some of the old cast members back to do like Where Are They Now with their characters. It was so great. It was so great. I enjoyed it anyway. But Dungeons and Dragons can't even beat Star Wars. This movie was a mistake. 194 million. I don't even think that's break even. Maybe. Gotta think that movie cost close to 200 million to make. So it's probably a loss. Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. I thought this movie looked good. It's been out 2 weekends. Oof, 12 million. That definitely cost more than 12 million. I mean, that's got explosions in it and soldiers. I love Guy Ritchie. I don't know. This felt like a weird movie for him to do, though. I wish he'd go back to doing movies about low-level gangsters in the UK. But, he's trying a bunch of different things. His Jason Statham movie That didn't go anywhere. It's a shame. It looked good. It has Aubrey Plaza in it. It has a lot of people in it, actually. Hugh Grant. I forget that other actor's name, but it looked good. It looked funny. But he can't seem to catch a break. Now, this movie premiered Sisu. This looks amazing. It's only done 5.4 million total worldwide, 3.2 million. This is a movie I want to see. This is a movie I'd go to the theater to see. It looks incredible. So the premise is, I forget what country it's in. David Black. If Defoe was not a typical Guy Ritchie movie, good, but more like a run-of-the-mill military movie for me. Oh, it definitely was not a typical Guy Ritchie movie. Oh, The Covenant you're talking about. Okay. Yeah, it looks fine. It looks good, actually. But it looks like something I'd rent. But the Sisu, I totally want to say it. Looks like insane. I forget which country it takes place in. I want to say like Sweden or Norway or something like country like that. And this guy just goes berserk on the bad guys from Germany. Some kind of legendary guy who just like murders them all. It looks great. Just when I thought I was sick of movies that took place during that time period. David Black. Yes, sorry for the spelling. LOL. Sisu is in Finland. That's it. Thank you. Then next is Big George Foreman. The miraculous story of the future, once a future heavyweight champion of the world. $3 million. I would have thought this would have done better too, but I guess there's just so many movies out. And Creed did just come out not too long ago, so maybe, anybody who was dying to see a boxing movie is like, nah. I saw my fill of boxing movies for the year. I don't need to see this one. This is another one, though. You really could have released this 20 years ago. Probably would have done much better. Now, Big George Foreman's still pretty well known, but he's kind of up there. I mean, this is kind of the last guy they hadn't done a movie on. They've done Ali, and have they done Frasier? I think they did Frasier. Holyfield, bunch of other guys. But this one feels more of like a movie you'd see at on A&E or something. Oh, but looking at Sisu, it was only in 1,000 theaters, so multiply that by 3 or 4, you get the true number, and yeah, that would have been 2 or 3 on the list had it gotten a wider release. But I think it's subtitled, so that would be tough. The Pope's Exorcist in its 3rd week. Again, this movie looked good. Did better internationally. 43 million international, 18 domestic, 61 overall. That's probably not money. They had a lot of CGI in this, and Russell Crowe. But it looked cool. I don't know. I'll definitely watch it on the video on demand. But I think that's a lot of people now. There's so many streaming services and ways to see movies, and it's so much cheaper than going to the theater. Last time I went to the theater, the kid gave me the senior discount, so that was nice. So I got to see the movie for $10, but even $10 is like pushing it for some of these movies, especially once you hear about them and you hear that they're not so great. You're like, then you kind of want to pay less. To me, that's the balance. It's like, if I go see a movie and I pay $14 for it, I want it to be good. It better be effing good for $14. But if I go to the movies, and it's, back in the day, we had $2 movies. It'd be second run movies. You can go to the theaters and see them for $2. Like a $2 movie, my expectation goes way down because it was only $2. Same thing with a rental. If I rent something for $2 or $3 online, it only has to be kind of good. And then I go, that wasn't bad. But if I pay $14 for the damn thing, I want it to be good. I want to have a good time. So, like, the Pope's Exorcist and George Foreman, like, those are kind of like, okay times for me. They're not $14 worth of fun. Sisu, that's $14 of fun, it looks like to me. Because some guys are going to get effed up in that movie. You know, a few cool things will happen in the Pope's Exorcist, but it ain't going to be $14 worth of cool. Beau is Afraid. It's an art house movie. I think this is the first big week for it. 5 million, 5.6 million, 102 international. Oof. Oh, it only opened in Australia. It hasn't really opened yet internationally. So, I don't know. It's an art house movie. I'd go see it on a date, and that's about it. I don't think it's going to do much more than this. I don't see how that could be money. 5.6 million for a Joaquin Phoenix movie? I don't think they can make movies that cheap anymore. 5.6 million for a union flick? I don't think so. I mean, just having the union guys there and a sound stage for 3 months? I don't think you could do it for under 10 million these days. Not in a union. Not with a guy with Joaquin Phoenix. And I assume all the guys that would come with a guy like that. You'd have to get a certain director and writer and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't think that could possibly be a profit. But it is A24, so maybe he took a pay cut. Maybe everybody did. I don't know. Renfield. Now I hear this movie's kind of a mess, unfortunately. It did 16 million domestic and 6 million international. Did it open in Romania? That's my big question. It opened in the United Kingdom, did okay. 1.6 million. It did not open in Romania. It opened in the Ukraine? Who the hell's going to see movies in the Ukraine right now? Kind of a weird situation. Hey, you want to go to the movies tonight? I'd rather not die. Would you rather die at home doing nothing? Okay, let's go to see Renfield, I guess. I hear Nicolas Cage is good, but that's about it. So, too many elements. JEC, yeah, I saw Renfield. It's like 5 movies crammed together. I guess you're the one who told me. That's a shame. It's dropping. It's not getting good word of mouth. Feels like a rental now. Yeah, feels like a rental. Premiered Polite Society. This appears to be an Indian pick. Okay. 800,000 domestic. Looks like 1.2 million international or worldwide. 400,000. Yeah, so it's not doing well. I don't know. 927 theaters. That's not good. That is not good. JC, I realized Renfield was written by a Rick and Morty writer, which is exactly what it feels like. Oh, right. Yep. I think we had this conversation last week. Yep. Chevalier. I said that correctly. This looked pretty good. 2.7 million domestic. How long has this been out? 2 weeks. Only 625,000. I mean, it's an art house movie, but it looks like a good one. This guy was a genius. For some reason, everybody argued with me in my trailer breakdown. I don't know why. I said nice things about the movie and about Chevalier. But people, man, they are... People on the internet, they love to argue. Man, they love to argue. Anything and everything, they'll just argue about nothing. I just don't have time for it. I mean, I used to. I used to waste my time arguing on the internet. Back in the day of message boards. I hope everything from them are gone. But But yeah, people in the YouTube comments on Chevalier are kind of odd. Um, so, but that looks like a good movie, good historical figure. Suzume, I believe this is the anime movie from last week. Yeah, it did 9.7 million domestic, 292 million worldwide. So the world loves anime. The United States says, meh, yeah, we'll send our weebs and that's it. Nefarious, another movie everybody's talking about. 500,000 this week. 3.3 million. I mean, Breitbart was raving and raving and raving about this movie. Some of the right-wing osphere kept talking about Nefarious, and I'm not sure why. I guess because it's kind of got a religious bent to it, but I just didn't see the appeal in that world. I mean, I guess you could stretch it and say, yeah, since there's demons in it, this would be kind of a cool movie to push, I don't know, Christianity or whatever, but I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, it just feels like another movie about a guy who gets possessed and is an evil guy and then has a back and forth with a cop. I mean, it's not like this hasn't been done before. But it looks fine. It looks like a decent low budget, but I don't think it was less than $3.3 million. Come on. It could be, but I doubt it. Scream 6 somehow still hanging in there. I guess the problem with Nefarious, it's only in 333 theaters. It really should be in 666 theaters. Yeah, Scream 6, meh, 230,000. Showing Up, another art house film, 78,000. Actually in more theaters this week. Avatar: Way of the Water, still in 110 theaters. I mean, I guess people are still seeing it. There's some theater out in the middle of the Midwest. People keep seeing this. I would put something else in it. Anything else. This is why Nefarious isn't in 666 theaters. Wildlife from National Geographic Snore. It's made $187,000. Why even bother? Champions somehow still in theaters. 54,000. Premiere of The Eight Mountains. That sounds like a documentary. Kinda can't tell. Looks like it's an international movie. 8.5 internationally. 36,000 domestically. Oof. Oofa. Only in 2 theaters, though. Joyland. $134,000. This is its 4th week. I think this is done. Whatever the hell this was, it's done. $285,000 internationally? Eek. Oof. Oofa. That is not good. 285. It better not be a single celebrity in this, because what did the 285K cover? The craft services? That sounds like about it. Other People's Children. Do I know that movie? Let me look at the poster. I think I read a write-up on this. I don't know. It's not doing good, though. 122,000 internationally. Yow. That is not good either. And that's the 2nd week. It's only in 7 theaters, though. Ant-Man and the Wasp, somehow in 40 theaters. Who is still showing this movie? Disney? Is that just the 40 theaters Disney owns? $13,000. Come on. It's not even worth it for the 40 theaters they have it in there. 1001, still hanging on, $9,000. 12 theaters. This one could have been that low budget, I guess. 3.3 million? I mean, I don't think so, but it could have been. And then a premiere of something called RMN did $5,800, but it's only in 2 theaters. Didn't even have a movie poster. It made $104K internationally. So, yeah, that's the state of movies. 90 million overall, and about half of that is Mario. So you guys better be nice to Chris Pratt. Is all I have to say to you, because he's single-handedly, him and Tom Cruise are carrying Hollywood through this darkest hour. And Charlie Day might get added to that list. He was in this thing. He was Luigi. I'd like to see Charlie Day do well. I like him. I'd like to see him do more comedy movies. By the way, Charlie Day's comedy movie that he directed and stars in looks amazing. Really does. Looks very classic comedy. He plays a mentally ill homeless guy who's mute, who gets pulled into a Hollywood production because he looks exactly like the star, who's also played by Charlie Day. And then it's like, he doesn't say anything the whole movie, his main character, but he becomes a big celebrity because of looking like another celebrity. So it looks kind of fun. And it looks like very sort of classic setup, like the kind of setup you'd see in a comedy movie in the Marx Brothers or the Stooges or something like that. Very, very classic. So, yeah, no politics. So, and speaking of comedies, not a lot of comedies on this list. Are there any? I guess you could count Mario Brothers, maybe, sort of. Champions, that would be a comedy. And that's about it. Yeah, not making enough comedies. Need more comedies, domestically at least. All right, checking the trades, going to Variety. Here it is, see? Variety. Are You There, God? Lands dispiriting debut. This is why I think Variety is so out of touch. Like, what did you think this movie would do? Did you think a movie about a coming-of-age movie about a little girl based on a book that was written in, I think, the 70s would, I don't know, rock the box office? It would have 20 or 30 years ago, I think. Probably would have done better, because the little girls who read that book in the 70s would have been adults in like the 90s and 2000s, and they would have taken their daughters to see it. But now those adults are grandparents. They're not going to take their grandkids to see a movie like this. Their parents might, but it just doesn't have the same connection. It's too far gone. It's too far afield, I think. When the hell was this? I gotta look up when this book came out. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Book. Wikipedia. 1970. Yeah, so that's an old book. And really, if it came out in 1970, it's really written about things that happened in the 50s and 60s. But it connected with people in the 70s, became a hot book. Really, that movie probably should have come out. Now, let's say, I bet maybe it had another movie before then. Doesn't say. Film adaptation. They started adapting it in 2018. That's 38 years later. It's almost 40 years later this movie comes out. Wait, 1970 plus 40 would be 2010. No, 50. 50 years. Jesus. It's just too far back. This is a period piece now. This might as well be Sense and Sensibility, Jane Austen. And I don't think, and no offense to the book, but I don't think it has that kind of endurance. I don't think people will be talking about this book 200 years from now. They will still talk about Sense and Sensibility. and other books like that, they're already in they're on the tier of classics. Little Women, those kinds of movies, they're there forever. This could be, I don't think so though. It's too modern. It's the kind of stuff it's about. It's not that universal. It kind of only works if there's a bunch of uptight squares, because it's a very progressive book. So, oh no, we want to, again, where are the uptight squares these days? They're trying to keep porn out of little kids' schools. That's what they're. That's the squares today. So, Only Murders in the Building, season 3. I'm surprised they did a season 3 of this. But it's nice to see Steve Martin continue to get work. And Martin Short. Adam McKay reunites with Netflix for Robert Pattinson, Amy Adams comedy, Average Height, Average Build. Maybe. I mean, those two leads don't sound very funny. Robert Pattinson is a pretty good actor, surprisingly so. Amy Adams is pretty funny, but I don't know. Maybe. That old Jack Black magic, voicing the villainous Bowser in Super Mario Brothers movie. The actor turns his best performance in years. Okay. I don't know how you really rate that with Jack Black, because he's a very visual guy, and he can't really do that as Bowser, but I'll take your word for it, I guess. What else is going on? Oh, here's if you want to read about this Martin Lawrence thing I talked about earlier, it's here in Variety, but it was also on Breitbart. WGA is still on the verge of strike. We'll see if anybody notices when the terrible writers are replaced with terrible AI. I don't know. The AI is terrible. The current writers are terrible. I mean, maybe Hollywood would just save money. Maybe they could finally make it equitable. Oh, we've made it fair and equitable for all writers. We don't hire writers. They're all poor. Let's see. Anybody interested in the Tony predictions? Not me. That's about it for Variety. Over at CBR. The heck? Oh, right. Mila Kunis. I talked about this in a short. She is not going to be in the Fantastic Four. She squashed the rumors. But here's how CBR covers it. Mila Kunis debunks Fantastic Four casting rumors with an intriguing statement. There's nothing intriguing about it. She's not in it. That's what she said. I'm not in the Fantastic Four. I think she had dinner with the director. And I guess the director told her who was in it, because she's in the club. She could be told, because she'll just, okay, I could tell you, but don't tell anybody, Mila. And she won't, because if she were to leak it, everybody would also brag that it came from her. So she doesn't want to get into trouble. She wants to work again, so it's safe to tell her, but she knows the Fantastic Four who's being cast, I guess. Adam Driver is rumored to be Mr. Fantastic. That wouldn't be a bad choice, I guess. I think Mila could play Sue Storm. Put her in a blonde wig, set her loose. I think she'd be fine. But the rumor was she was going to be Ben Grimm, or she was going to be the Thing, which is just insane. Come on. Disney is woke. Are they that woke? Yeah, but they're not that stupid, I think. There was a female The Thing in Marvel. I think it was Ben Grimm's girlfriend who was the female Thing. So maybe they could have made her the Thing's blind girlfriend, who then becomes Mrs. Thing. I guess, but Not exactly sure what the background was on the girl thing, but yeah, there was one. Um, I would like to see Mila in as Sue Storm. I think she'd be good, but she did just have like a kid or two kids, so maybe she's not ready to go back to movies yet. I mean, she's got to be rich, right? She's been in a few movies. This was a good headline. True Detective creator Nick Pizzolatto rewriting Blade. So that might be good. I mean, he's not a bad writer. That first season's really good. I don't know about the second season wasn't great. I didn't watch it after that. Um, I still say they should get Wesley Snipes back. I think Wesley could pull it off, but especially with the CGI that they're going to have to do on him anyway. I mean, no offense to this actor, but Snipes could pull it off. I mean, and it would be great to have him back. And since he's a vampire character and he's immortal, you could just roll the Blade universe right into the MCU and you'd have a bunch of crazy vampires to fight. That would be fun. That'd be more fun than the Skrull, I think. They're effing up the Skrull. Sorry. The Skrull just looks stupid and dumb. The vampires are always kind of cool. You know? I wouldn't mind seeing the Avengers fight vampires. I think it'd be fun. But they're not going to do anything cool like that. The MCU's done, I think. So, but this might be at least watchable. Oh, and this was another story this week. IDW delisted from the New York Stock Exchange as they lay off even more staff. So, anybody out there got stock in IDW? Anybody else commit portfolio suicide? I didn't buy it. This is not financial advice, but what? You bought IDW stock? Are you insane? Maybe if you shorted it, I guess. I think that's when you bet against the stock, right? Oh, I forget. Somebody explained the shorting. It's like you borrow money and then you buy the shares and then you unload. I forget it. I forget. But somehow you make money. This is not financial advice because I'm an idiot when it comes to this stuff. But, oh man. If I was going to short any stock, I'd have shorted the hell out of IDW. Because that had nowhere to go. But down, 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 down. I have zero confidence in the staff of IDW. I applied there. Totally did, but didn't get anywhere. I still don't quite understand what they were trying to do. You know? Seems like these guys, they get a comic book company and they just kind of, I don't know, they just kind of burn through their money. And they must know they're not making any money. Like they license these big giant IPs and make comic books out of them. They can't be making anything because in order to make money on an IP like, I don't know, they license the Transformers and G.I. Joe and a couple others. In order to make real money on that, I mean, they got to sell a ton of comics. A ton of comics. And you'd have to do it at a time when, like, I don't know, a movie was coming out maybe or something like that. I don't think IDW had any of that kind of coordination with the, you know, the movie, and they'd probably have to pay through the nose to do that. They're not part of I don't think they're part of a movie studio, so, you know, the only thing to do would be to produce a comic that was so good everybody in comics bought it, and that's not a big pool of people. Hi, Ardent. Ardent's back. It's not a big pool of people, comic book fans. JC, I haven't cared about IDW since the late 2000s when they were putting out books by Ashley Wood and Ben Templesmith. Yeah. And how much did those cost and how much did they sell? Probably not a lot. I mean, it's hard to make a hit in comics. And you got to really stick with it or put out a graphic novel and really flack the hell out of it. I just don't think you could do it anymore. Not at a company level. You would need more money. Well, if IDW, JC, I think if IDW got a taste of Hollywood with that 30-day and 30 nights option, they've been chasing the dragon ever since. Yes, definitely, 100%. But I also think they went about that. I mean, they should have taken that 30-day and 30 nights money and invested it in original IPs that they either owned or locked in for potential movie things. I think what they did is they ended up spending their money doing all these licensing, which I don't think you can make money on. I think you can make money on original comics if you, like, they would have need to follow the formula. The real formula if you're starting a comic book company is you got to do an anthology. I think you have to do like a heavy metal or a Tales from the Crypt or a just one big comic anthology with a lot of stuff that pools all the audiences together, and then everybody goes, well, they only publish one thing, I think I'm going to buy it, it's got a bunch of stuff. And you have to make it like so friggin' affordable that anybody would buy it. Like, who wouldn't buy a 100-page comic book magazine for like, I don't know, $3 or $4? I think anybody would. Any comic fan would, if it had some cool art in it. But that's a lost leader. But IDW had the money at one point. If you built that up to the point, you might have had a hit within those pages, and then you could have built upon that. When you rent hits from other people, yeah, I don't think that works. And you could have put those, even if you also did the licensing, you could have put them in your magazine, right? So if you license the Ninja Turtles and then put them in your magazine, then your magazine sells to a bunch of Ninja Turtle fans who might get hooked on some of your other stuff. But they didn't operate that way as far as I could tell. They didn't really want anything new, as near as I could tell. They still make comics, and a lot of these guys do, where it's like, oh, we got a really good artist, a really good name artist, and then they build some IP around them, but they don't pick a good writer, not like they pick the artist, which in comics, that's an important thing, don't get me wrong, but like, if you don't have a good story, it doesn't matter how good the artist is. I mean, the guy who did Cry for Dawn, I forget his name, Linsner. I mean, he was the hottest thing for a while, and his artwork was very nice. I thought his artwork was nice. But in my opinion, the Cry for Dawn comic, it kind of just went nowhere. It had like really cool illustrations and really cool visual concepts, but no story behind it that I could make sense of, much less follow. And it looked cool, but it didn't capture your imagination. You need to capture people's imagination. And you need to start small and build up, but I have many strong opinions about comic books. Moving on to The Hollywood Reporter. CinemaCon takeaways, Ryan Gosling's Barbie Ken energy, wicked wows, and the Flash frenzy. Oh God, the Flash. We'll get to him in a minute. So basically the same headlines. I don't know why we have more than one trade. Ardent came in late on the Blade story. Are they rewriting it because it was too woke? They're rewriting it because the lead actor hated it. He hated the script. Whether or not it was woke has not totally been revealed, but that's kind of I think that's kind of the angle. Plus, the rumor was they were going to try to introduce Blade's daughter in the comic and marginalize him in his own comic. So that was like, the thought was, oh, they're going to introduce Blade only to make him second banana in his own movie, so they could push his daughter into the forefront and then make it about Girl Blade. I think that seemed to be the way they were going. To which this actor, what's his name, Ali? Yeah, Ali would have been like, and good for him to say, hey, if I'm going to be the star of this movie, I want to be the main guy in this movie. I don't want to take a back seat in my own damn movie, like Mandalorian has in his TV show, by the way. What a cluster F that's turned out to be, I hear. No, thank you. Glad I didn't waste my time watching that. Glad I don't waste my time watching Star Wars. Here's another Star Wars headline. Andor star Diego Luna was skeptical over how well Season 1 went. This is too perfect. Everybody think that about commie Star Wars? Oh, it's too perfect. It's so good, it's too perfect. That's the problem with it. Too much perfection in Star Wars, everybody. I could see why that would be a huge problem. Oh, all the fans writing on their, focus group cards. Well, I'd like this show, but it's just too perfect for me. Too perfect. Oh my God. There's too much good stuff here. Please ruin it a little bit. Ardent, Blade's effing what? Bah! Yeah, his daughter. Who, of course, is better than him in being Blade in every possible way, I assume. But yeah, Andor. It's just like... It's like they just go through the IPs and say, oh, what do we own here? Well, there's this planet called Andor. Andor, that sounds like a TV show. Let's go with that. Like, what? Well, I mean, it's a Star Wars thing, right? Yeah, Andor. They'll know what that is. The nerds will know. They'll go see it. Meanwhile, they're putting the Star Wars characters on bananas. That was my shocker in the produce stand one day. I'm like, why are there Star Wars character on these bananas? It's just crazy. But that's Disney, man. They can market anything. Absolutely anything. I think that's about it for the Hollywood Reporter. God, same headlines, same damn stuff. All right, here's the Flash article. Ezra Miller's well now, says the Flash director. Clint Miller's here. I get it. Got it. JC, I think Andor was a character from Rogue One. I didn't see that movie. Was he? I thought he was a planet. I thought it was the Andor the planet, but you may be right. I don't know. I didn't say it. What am I thinking of then? Planet? Let me see. Go on Wikipedia. Wikipedia has stuff about this. Andor may refer to as the TV series. Cassian Andor, titular character. You're right. Andor, Wheel of Time, a country. Andor technology. I don't know what I was thinking of. No, maybe. Oh, here it is. Andor, known as Andoria, the homeworld of a fictional species, the Andorian in Star Trek. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. Or Numenor in Lord of the Rings. Or Andor. I don't know. I got too much nerd stuff in my brain. At JEC, believe it or not, it's well worth watching, especially the last scene, says Ardent. Ardent Bullshit. Clint Miller at Ardent. Has the snow melted yet? Anyhow, The Flash. Following 3 years of troubled behavior, that's putting it lightly, it said the actor is on the path of recovery. Anybody buying this? Not me. I think he's just waiting. He's waiting until this movie comes out, he gets his money, and then I think the studio's going to cut him loose, and he'll probably do something else wacky. Give him like a year, and he'll do something wacky. Or maybe not. Maybe he'll finally say, you know what? I want to keep all this money flowing. But, Ardent, yeah, Clint, Sheila's brush was last eek. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Miller was apparently told he was going to lose his job as DC's Scarlet Speedster, which is when he apparently made the big decision to turn things around and has since apologized for his behavior. I'm not buying it, but sure. Yeah, I just don't want to see this movie. I don't want to support him. If I could see it for free, I guess I'd see it. Flash rumors include ending and nixing Justice League references. I guess this is going to reboot the DC universe. I guess. That's what it's supposed to do. I just don't know why they pick a guy like this for this role. You know, Clint Miller co-star with Shia LaBeouf. Another wackadoo. Although it not nearly as bad in retrospect. I mean, Shia LaBeouf, he said some stuff, but I do think he was joking when he said those things on the set. I think he was goofing around. You know, kind of edgy jokes. Probably should have kept his mouth shut, but and he it's probably not like he hadn't said that before and felt he could get away with it. So, but compared, Ezra Miller's committed actual crimes. He's been convicted. Like, Ezra Miller should have been dumped. Should have been dumped by the studio, I think. I think they could have. Again, I think they could have deep faked him out of the movie. You know, the technology is there. You could have deep faked him right out of the movie. Put the Flash. And now, if you wanted to avoid the woke backlash, you could have put Elliot Page's face right on his face. I think Elliot's face would have worked. Then you could have ended the movie in such a way that Elliot and Ezra were out of it, and then, you know, you could have retired the Flash for a few years and then quietly brought him back later. Clint Miller, isn't Shia's girlfriend Mia Goth? He's dating Mia Goth? Good for him. Her star's on the rise. She's in everything. Good for him. She's a hot little minx. I like Mia Goth. I think she's talented too. But yeah, now if you didn't want to deep fake Elliot Page just to placate the woke, which Warner Brothers still seems to be doing, you could have deep faked the TV Flash right over top of him, and not even said anything. Just like, no, he's always been the Flash. Just like completely ignore it. I think fans would have been fine with it. And then you wouldn't have had to really reshoot anything. You would have had to re-record his voice, record his face, I guess. But I don't even think you need to do that with the computer technology. You would have had to pay Ezra, but you already had to pay him anyway. So I don't think you would have lost anything. You would have had to pay the CW guys something. It would have cost more money, but you would have gotten rid of Ezra. You would have gotten me to see the movie. But I might see it for free because I have Warner Brothers. Still, for some reason. I'm not paying for it, Warner Brothers. So take it away from me if you want, but I ain't paying for Warner Brothers streaming. There's just not enough there. Not enough there. I don't see what everybody sees in this kid in terms of his acting. They say he's a great actor, but I mean, he's not awful. I wouldn't call him great. And he's so, or was, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, he was so terrible as a human being, in my view, that it distracts from the movie. I can't look at him on the screen and treat him seriously if he's playing Barry Allen, who is this fairly traditional, heroic character who puts it on the line for everybody, when I've seen so many videos of Ezra Miller acting like a complete a-hole. Like, just insufferable. and arrogant. Complete opposite of Barry Allen. I just, no amount of acting is going to erase that in my brain. So I just don't buy it. I just don't buy him as the Flash. You know, so I think this movie really is Michael Keaton featuring the Flash, is what it is. Everybody's lining up to go see Michael Keaton back as Batman. And as much as I like Michael Keaton, I never thought he was a good Batman at all. No, he looks better in this movie. I'll say that. In this movie, he looks like a better Batman. But the CGI is obviously helping him. And, you know, because now he's playing older Batman, I think it works a little better. Younger Batman, he was just a wrong guy for it. He was okay as Bruce Wayne. He was kind of fun and funny, but just, I mean, Michael Keaton was a comedian. He's a comedian. And pretty funny one. He was in tons of comedy movies. Mr. Mom, Night Shift. I mean, Night Shift's a classic. If you haven't seen Night Shift with Michael Keaton, you really ought to see it. You know. So I kind of almost can't take him seriously as Batman, but I kind of can now. He's acted enough in enough other things. I mean, he's great as the Vulture. I'll give him that. He's good as a villain. As Batman, he didn't quite do it for me. He wasn't totally off, but I mean, he's closer to Batman than, say, George Clooney. George Clooney just looked lost as Batman. You know, it's just so simple to make Batman. I don't know how they keep screwing this up, but, you know, I think it's on purpose. I don't think they want a good Batman. A really good Batman. I mean, like, the Robert Pattinson is about the... And the Christian Bale one, to some extent, are like the closest we've gotten to the real kind of Batman that we deserve. But I would love to see a Batman TV show with a really good lead. I mean, there's so many actors. They're in shape. They're great for it. I mean, you could do an absolute massive hit. Warner Brothers, again, they should have backed the money truck up to Robert Pattinson and said, do our Batman TV show. Let Matt Reeves direct the whole damn thing. Let the thing run for 5-10 years. Introduce all the friggin' characters. And then spin them off in their own things. Then people could kind of get behind that. Then you could spin out some of the extra hero characters like Nightwing, maybe Spoiler, maybe Red Mask. I don't know. It's just an IP factory now. It pisses me off. Ardent, was it Pacific Palisades and Johnny Dangerously Keaton was in? Yes. I think Pacific Palisades. I know he was Johnny Dangerously. He's great in that movie too. Joe Piscopo has the greatest line in that too. Ardent, wait, you liked Pattinson as Batman? I did. I thought he was fine. He's understated. He's a little young for the role, but that's okay because it's supposed to be early Batman. He's fine. He's fine in it. I mean, yeah, I like him in it. I didn't like the Catwoman. She was okay. She was tolerable, but not great. I think we need a break from Catwoman. I don't think she should be in the Batman thing until later. But there's rumors they're going to develop Clayface, which would be great. Like to see Clayface in a movie. He's like one of the few guys they haven't really developed. Who else? I mean, I'd like to see Reeves do the Joker. Ardent, you shouldn't ought to hang out with me on a hook, Johnny. My father put me on a hook once. My favorite line from Joe Piscopo was somebody says something like, you parked in the handicap spot. And he goes, I am handicapped. I'm psychotic. And he holds up this sign and it has like a crazy person like handicap, like it's pretty funny. Had to be there. Johnny Dangerously was like airplane for like old gangster movies. It was pretty good. It was pretty good, pretty funny. Just one gag after another kind of movie. I like those kinds of movies. They're really fast paced. They just go on and just gag after gag after gag after gag. And that to me, yeah, if you can keep up that pace, that's why I like the airplane movies. They're great. But Ezra Miller is not great. No. Ezra Miller could not be in an airplane or Johnny Dangerously or any comedy movie, really, because he couldn't make fun of himself. He could be in a comedy, but it would probably be terrible. Because, the perfect comedy to cast Ezra Miller in would be a comedy about an obnoxious guy who uses being non-binary to, lord it over other people. That would be the perfect movie role for him in a comedy. And then how, some other character has to overcome his obnoxiousness. Going over to Deadline. Serious moments for media give way to satire and mirth. Biden and Wood remarks. This was the correspondence dinner at the White House. Did anybody see the clips from this? It's brutally bad. Roy Wood, I think his name was the comedian. He was not good, in my view. He was not good. He actually, what did he do? He lectured the audience at one point about drag shows. And it was like one of those clapter moments where he paused so everybody could applaud him for being stunning and brave. Brutally bad. Total betrayal of comedy. But probably the only way he could do the gig. The fact that Biden was laughing should tell you something. That he thought all the jokes were fine. He is the worst. Can't stand Biden. The absolute worst. In fact, one of my relatives called me up. His daughter had an assignment to rank the presidents according to greatness in your lifetime. And he asked me who I would put on the bottom. And I said, oh yeah, Biden. Biden's right on the bottom. Right on the bottom. No question anymore. Bush was on the bottom for a long time. And even when Biden got in, I thought, well, he's not going to be worse than Bush. Oh yeah, he's worse. He's worse. Clint Miller, throwing shade at my nephew Ezra? Ha ha ha. Just kidding. I strenuously deny we are related. It's probably not his real name. He probably has another name that's unpronounceable or something, and he chose Ezra Miller because it's got a good cadence. Ardent, I would too, Clint. Yes. I think we all would. Although, quite frankly, compared to what Matthew Lawrence went through, that poor guy, if what he says is true, I mean, that's a walk in a park. I mean, at least Ezra got caught. What else? Agatha Coven of Chaos star Patti LuPone, still not familiar with the MCU before joining series, but having a blast filming. You want to talk about a show that's going to be DOA, or is this a movie? I don't even know. I guess it's a show. They're doing Agatha Coven of Chaos. Like, Agatha Harkness, is this a character that anybody gives an F about? Anybody. Not even Marvel fans. I mean, if you launched an Agatha Coven of Chaos comic, I don't even know who would buy it. Ardent. Oh, Sheila Brush is the last snowfall of the year. Oh, Sheila's brush is the last snowfall of the year, just enough to be brushed off your step. Oh. Piece of Newfoundland trivia for ye. You people talking pirate talk. I like it. You do a lot of boating, I assume. All the fishing you do. Clint Miller. Thanks, Arden. Yeah, like, who cares about Agatha Harkness? Like, what? I could just see it. I could just see it. They're sitting around with a big book of IPs, and they're like, "Oh, here's one, Agatha Harkness. Yeah, let's turn this into. Let's spend millions of dollars making this TV show." Like, was there no one in the room to go, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa"? No one knows who that character is. Oh, but it's in the book. Yeah, but there's not a comic. You understand? Like the Spider-Man has millions of comics that people have read. The Hulk, Captain America, all these Marvel comics, they're big. Yeah, and Agatha, Coven of Chaos, that's big too, right? No, it's not big. They maybe had one comic. One? Yeah. And no one read it. Really? Yes. Do not do this show. And then they would go, "Oh, okay," and pick something else. Something good like Morbius, sorry. Ardent, my great-great-grandfather was a pirate, actually. Ah. Arr. Good for you, lad. I hope you got a wee bit of treasure. I'm doing research on pirates, and I like to talk in a pirate voice when I do it. There's lots of pirates in New Jersey, by the way, or were. Probably are now. Still good pirate country along the coast. So yeah, I think this is a huge mistake. But try to stop Marvel from spending money. Try to stop Disney. Oh, it's a woman. It's a woman. Let's do it. Kite is here. Hello. LOL. Ardent. Michelle Obama with Springsteen singing Basso Profundo, was she? Yes, that's the next headline. She joined Bruce Springsteen on stage. Kite, some pirate stories in the future then. Yes. Yarg. And I blame Bruce Springsteen more than anybody for bringing her up on stage. Like, it's bad enough Bruce has become, I think, this kind of partisan guy who really, I think he's just been corrupted by the money. He's just been too rich for too long. Same thing with his buddy Steve Van Zandt, Silvio from The Sopranos. Ardent, there is some pirate gold in my inheritance. Arg! Wee bit of doubloons for ye. I hope you get some rum. Yeah, so he brings Michelle Obama up on stage on a real tour. It's just, come on. Kite, hey Ardent, how have ya been? How have ye been? Says Kite. Bonnie Raitt, meanwhile, has to reschedule 4 shows. I don't know. I don't watch. I don't listen to Bonnie Raitt, but has a medical condition. Ardent says, not bad, Kite, taking care of my sick girl tonight. Whenever I see medical situation now, undisclosed, she's 73, I always think that a certain medical procedure that a lot of people took is complicating matters for people. But I don't know that for sure. I'm not a doctor or a scientist. But, yeah, it's not good. Legal battle over guitarist Johnny Winter's music heats up. The late guitarist Johnny Winter's music. According to the AP, legal wrangle between Winter's former personal manager and bandmate Paul Nelson. I would lean towards the bandmate and the family of Winter's late wife Susan, who died in 2019. Wow, that sounds complicated. Ardent, do ye know the pirate alphabet? A-E-I-O-R. I. You forgot I. Oh, wait, no, you did have I. I think that's about it. Kite. Oof, can you imagine? Rum from Western pirate days. The strength may be worth the strength. Does it get stronger? I guess. Would it be good, though? I guess it would depend on where you stored it. Pirates would bury it in the beach, probably get it all heated up. Kite, I hope she gets better, Ardent. Stanley Tucci talks about his oral cancer battle. I had a feeding tube for 6 months. Jesus. That's not good. This was a 2017 diagnosis. Oh, man. Rough time to be going through that. But at least you got done before that other stuff. And his first wife, Kate, died from breast cancer in 2009. Jeez, were you guys like visiting Chernobyl and various nuclear power plants? What the hell happened? Both got cancer? That's rough. Kite, I meant the strength may be worth the stomach pain. My brain died for a second. I felt like Fetterman. Ardent, perfect. Lad, we'll get your sea legs under ye a fire before long. Afore long. Yarg. Now here's something I don't think I may have mentioned this earlier. I think I mentioned it on Hollywoke Hot Take. I don't remember now. So Netflix, Adam McKay, Robert Pattinson. Or did I talk about that in the first one? I think I did because it was on Variety, right? Yeah, I did. Never mind then. See, Robert Pattinson in a comedy. I don't know if that'll be any good. At Kite from Ardent, best way to deal with strong rum is to water it down. And that's about it for Deadline. Yeah, not a lot going on. I mean, there was the clips of Elon on Bill Maher. That was a big deal for like a day and a half. Elon's pretty based these days. Kind of have to be. Bill Maher keeps taking the red pills. Slowly works on him, I'll say. Yeah, a lot of people are finally on board with the anti-woke. I'm waiting for the moment, though, it becomes super cool. And I think it's almost there. I think we're almost at the point where being not woke and making fun of the woke is the coolest thing to do. I think we're right on the cusp of it. And then once we hit that, I think, it'll take off. Kite. Nah, if ye need ye sip it, I'll never water down ye rum laddie. It's Pirate Day on the live stream. Yeah, so not a lot going on in Hollywood. So, as long as I got you here, let's talk about the Jersey Devil. So, if you go to Google, Elon and Bill Maher, says Ardent, talking about psychology and politics is hilarious in all the wrong ways. Well, somebody's got to talk about it, I suppose. I watched Peter Boghossian talking about it in a podcast. That was pretty good. Although, even watching him, he got into philosophy and stuff. And, I mean, he's a philosophy professor. And so one of the things... But he's also, like, a pretty ardent atheist. And then... So what he did was he's doing this thing where it's like philosophy on the street. Where he talks to people and videotapes them and asks them, big... philosophical questions, and it was kind of interesting, but at the same time, like, I feel like, I'm not a religious guy. I'm an agnostic. Kite. See, even left and centrist people are against the woke now, but when elections come, they'll vote them because the right is mean, bigoted, and phobic. Whee! We'll see. Ardent, Blackbeard versus the Jersey Devil. Blackbeard did come to New Jersey. He did stop here, so very possible. Very possible. Anyhow, Peter Boghossian, if you catch this podcast, it was recent. He talks about religion, and my take on it is, I think certain people need religion because they need like morals, and without something, they latch on to anything. And I think that's what happened with the woke. People got out of religion and they started latching on to the woke because they just latch on to any kind of belief system that gives them something so they can point to other people and feel better about themselves. And I think with religion, even though, again, I'm not a religious guy, I think it's a useful tool for some people to keep them in line, up to a point. If they don't take it too seriously, if they just kind of obey the rules and not take it like literally or take it so to heart that they're forcing it on other people, I think it can be a good thing. I think it could be a positive. It's definitely a net positive when you take some woke maniac and then they flip over, which is going to happen. They're going to flip right into religion because the woke mind virus is kind of a religion. And I think it'll be easier for them to flip into the Christian religion or any other religion and feel like, oh, I'm saved now. Now I have all the answers. They don't, but they can think they do. And then, the religious dogma will give them instructions on how to live their life. And if they don't take it too seriously, they'll live it without bothering too many people. And I think part of the reason religion is needed in that way is because you have people, like, brains do not develop fully until you're 25. And so you have all these people who are they're teenagers and they're just absolutely lost and they're looking for an identity. And the ones that have religion at least won't get into trouble until, a lot of them don't get into trouble because of religion. They wait to get married. They don't do a lot of bad things because they feel like, oh, God will punish me or whatever. Now, they get older, sometimes they go to college and say, religion is BS, I'm not going to listen to this. But at least up until then, they're kind of in line. So I think they kind of need it. Ardent. Yeah, woke grew out of the Atheism Plus crowd. When the internet skeptics surrendered their previous religion, they found cultural Marxism. Yes. Yeah, I think so. Ryan, gotta go. I have to brush my teeth and go to sleep. See you next Sunday night. Tony DiGerolamo. Thank you, Ryan Citro. Ardent says, later. Yeah, so I think people need to latch on to something. I think people who aren't strong enough to kind of rise above that and say, no, I need values. Like, I think there are people who can just, whether they're religious or not, they say, I need values in my life. Here are my values. Some of them pick a religion or a group or whatever, and they say, yes, I'm going to obey these values. And they're strong enough that they can, even at their own detriment, obey them. But I think a lot of people aren't strong. And so what they do is they glom onto religion or whatever, because then it gives them an excuse to be strong when they can't be. So when somebody says, hey, you want to go, I don't know, go buy a hooker, and they need that strength to say, no, I can't do that, I'll go to hell. Rather than say, no, I don't want to do that because it's dangerous and illegal and gross and weird, and why would you even ask me that? Like, they're not strong enough to say that, but if they have religion, they can use it as an excuse to rebuff the temptation when normally they can't. So, anyhow, I got off the important track, which is looking at sightings of the Jersey Devil. So if you go to Google Maps and you type in sightings of the Jersey Devil, it'll give you not all the sightings, but a bunch of them, including the ones in red, which are the 1909 sightings. So it's kind of cool. Here's one way up north. The Hanover Works, 1810 something. Naval hero Stephen Decore in the early 1800s saw a large winged devil while practicing or testing his cannons near the Hanover Iron Works. Decore shot at, and the ordnance went through the creature's wing, but he continued to fly off, apparently unharmed. I heard that originally it was Napoleon Bonaparte who shot a cannonball through the Jersey Devil, but maybe he did it too. Here's one in Hazlitt from 2008. Hazlitt, New Jersey. According to artist Jesse DeMolay, end of May, around the 28th, 2008, near the exit in Hazlitt, I was watching the odometer, which reached 120,666. There was police coming. I could hear the sirens. It was dark, and a black Honda had wrecked. The car had hit an SUV and was on the opposite side of the road. The Jersey Devil was on the roof of the car, moving in slow motion. The tail was touching the ground. It was so long. He was gray. I was praying, but he screamed at me. He growled, telling me to leave. He had pointed ears. He was like a giant bat with a pointed tail. He was more like a dragon with the face of a cat or a bat. Not so much like a horse, as people say. He was moving forward. I almost turned back, but he was screaming to go. Clint Miller. Jeepers Creepers. Jinkies, Shaggy. It's the Jersey Devil. Ardent. Moral people don't require religion to be moral. Unfortunately, the woke aren't moral. Yes. I think they need something. They need religion. And it's funny because I've met people who are like that. Like, I met this guy, he had converted, he became Orthodox Jew, and he wasn't born into the Jewish religion. He was a convert, but he was hardcore. And they say the biggest zealots are usually the converts to a religion, because it's like they find it and they go, oh yes, this is what I needed, and they just like dive right in. They dive like head first in, and they are hardcore. And he was a nice guy though, and it seemed to help him. Ardent, like, zoinks, Scoob. Zoinks. Anyhow, if you want to get caught up on the Jersey Devil sightings, go here. And you can see them all. I've done a lot of book signings all over South Jersey. A lot of this could almost be my book signings. I wish I could chart them all out on a map like this. That would be fun. That would be very fun. I would have lines down here. I've done them in Millville and Vineland, all the way down here in Cape May, Wildwoods. Haven't done Stone Harbor yet, but I think that's coming up. Ocean City, definitely did that. Summers Point, Atlantic City. Have I done one in Atlantic City? I don't think I have. It's not a lot going on in Atlantic City other than casinos. It's a shame, but it's true. Kite. Sadly, they have religion. The wokeness is their religion. That's why they defend it so rigorously. Yeah, but it's a messed up religion, man. I kind of think it's not going completely away. I think what it's going to do, it's going to slowly over a period of time. I mean, most people will get out of it, but I think there'll be a hardened center that stays in it, and they'll go away, and it'll actually become a religion. And then it'll soften somewhat, and then they'll reinvent themselves. They'll come up with some new name, and then they'll try to get people back. And I think when the woke lose their power and everybody goes back to traditional values, and because the pendulum just keeps swinging, a lot of people will go back to religion, and then when the woke return with they'll come back with some religious version of wokeness, and that then they'll be able to convert their old converts back to some degree. Not a lot, but ardent converts tend to be the most zealous, but can be overbearing. I met a Baptist like that. Yeah. Kite, it's also the first religion wholly devoid of morals in an attempt to be nice to everyone as long as they agree with them. Yeah, they have a weird, and they have this weird, a lot of people, they always say, I believe in kindness, but they really don't. And then the moment you start disagreeing with them, they go cuckoo bananas. And then you're just like, I thought you believed in kindness. No, but see, you don't. The worst is what it's done to dating. I mean, the dating sites are just rife with women who all day long will virtue signal, and it's just unbelievable. Really. It's a hellscape. Kite. Every other religion has set moralistic laws, even ones we view as barbaric at times. Yeah. Yeah. But a lot of them are open to interpretation, too, and that's part of the problem. And that's, wokeness, the big problem with wokeness, because it's really a Marxist religion, is it is purposely designed to infuriate people, because it's purposely contradictory at times, because it's all about deconstructing everything, and in a vain attempt to try to bring about the utopia, which will never happen. Ardent, LOL, pacifists who get mad are hilarious. Yeah, what are you going to do? Hit me? Yeah, so that was a good video. The Peter Boghossian one. Definitely good to see. I've been getting back into James Lindsay's videos again. They've been pretty good. I just, after a while I got kind of sick of them, because it was like, it's the same thing over and over again. I mean, every once in a while Lindsay has like he digs down and he comes up with a new thought that, adds to the basic premise, which is, yeah, let's not do this. Let's not usher in a Marxism and wokeness, cultural Marxism. But if you haven't seen James Lindsay's videos, you really should. Kite, there's no interpretation of wokeness. It's do as we say or else. They eat their own as quickly as the centrist or right-winger when they change the rules for moral high horses. I think that's by design, though. And I think they'll just, because they have no morals, they'll be fine to scale it back. And when they go back into their hidey holes and then redesign wokeness according to what's popular at the time. And what I think will be popular will be religion and traditional values, and they'll come out of their hidey hole with some crazy new name that'll be like the Traditional Values Corporation. And it'll be like, whoa, we're all about traditional values and capitalism. And at first people will be like, oh, okay, well, you're like another one of these based groups. Yes, we're very based, but they'll be lying. And then they'll slowly ease into it, and then you'll realize, wait a minute. Carter Chain. Hello, Carter. Welcome. Don't want to derail, but have we talked about the Steven Crowder drama yet? We have not. We have not. Kind of forgot about that. It's kind of already passed, but that's okay. We could talk about that. Let me see if I can get a Crowder thing up. Let's see. Steven Crowder. Let's get some images up at least. There's Crowder. There's his shows. Yeah, let's get into Crowder for a few minutes. Kite, dating is dead. I have already had to come to terms with that. Because of all this, my last girlfriend was literally my last. Oh, never say never, Kite. Never say never, my friend. Yeah, I haven't had a date in a while, but I'm 57. It's a little different. I don't know how old you are, but yeah, at my age, yeah, most of the girls are just looking for a soft place to land. But I keep it open. I keep it open. Yeah, I'm open to it. I mean, not a lot of women want to date an old, poor comic book guy, but you never know. Kite, I'm about to turn 34, so I'm adult enough to deal, but what about the people younger than that? I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the next comment. It's tough. It's just tough. I mean, and at 34, it's really tough because the women your age, they want to have kids, but I don't know if they want to have the responsibility of kids. Like, I think a lot of them just want, I want to have kids. I want to have my married and kids phase. And then they do that for, I don't know, about 6 years, and then they get sick of it. Oh, this sucks. Oh, you know what? I'm going to divorce my husband and go have fun. Yeah, he'll have to pay for him. I'll have the kids, and I'll get a job, and, but then I'll date again. Oh, that'll be great. That's horrific. Like, most of the women in my family were not like that. It was very rare for people in my family to get divorced. even in the modern era, most of them still together. Um, you know, and it's so tragic when these women. I mean, I see women. I'll scan for like 40 to 60-year-olds. That's sort of my range. And you see these women in their 40s. They have very young kids. Oh, but they're partying, man. They're like, oh, I'm a pansexual. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm crazy. Let's go out and get drunk. I'm like, you have a 6-year-old lady. You should be home with your kid. You should not be acting like I'm a party girl at 40. When you're in your 40s, it's over. Okay? Ladies, it's over at 40. It's done. Pick someone. But then Ardent says, must we? To Steven Crowder. Ardent at Kyle, I'm 47, just 6 months away. 6 months into my relationship with Stormy today. Congrats. It's tough. Relationships are tough. And these days, I say stay away from the feminist. Get a fairly traditional girl. Some of my relatives, a lot of them, some of them have married women who they still go to church. I think that might be the way to go now. I never thought that before, but at least they would have a reason to stay. At least they would have a reason to work on your relationship and your marriage. I feel like ones without it, man, they just go off. Kite, women my age either have numerous kids or don't want them and want someone to be super mega successful. I will not date someone with more than one kid. I want my own, maybe. Yeah, I hear that. I try not to date anybody with kids, quite frankly. Ardent, stop looking on Tinder, Tony. I know. I have nothing else to look at. I go nowhere. Carter Chain, relationships are tough. Just ask Crowder. Thank you for turning that back onto Crowder. Yeah, so my opinion on Crowder is this. Ardent, church girls might be worth it. Church girls are on Tinder. They are. Everybody on Tinder, all the girls on Tinder are like, I don't want an F buddy. I want a relationship. Like, oh yeah, you went to Tinder. Anyhow, so Crowder, for those of you who don't know, the big drama, he's getting a divorce, right? So he's very traditional, religious, the whole bit, whole right-winger thing. So what dropped after he announced his impending divorce was this Ring video of him arguing with his wife. And I say arguing. Everybody else is saying berating his wife. He's arguing with his wife. I missed some. Clint Miller. Feminists will only date men who out-earn them. I think that is true. I agree with you. Kite. Ardent. I just stopped putting myself out there. I'm a schizophrenic, so I pretty much stay housebound. I keep being told too problematic to work. So my only way to find someone is apps, and well, they aren't exactly kosher. Yeah, they're a little rough. Watch yourself on the apps, I say. You can still find people. I mean, like, at least in the short term for some companionship. But, so Crowder's arguing with his wife. Now, I've been in a relationship. I've been married. Like, once you've been married, you get it. You get into insane arguments with your wife. They just become insane because they go like this. Your wife does something annoying and you go, do I want to discuss this? Do I want to get into an argument over this? Or do I just want to let it go and continue on my day? So you let it go. And then you let something else go. And then something else and something else and something else. And on the 50th thing, whatever it is, you go, no. It doesn't matter what it is. You've hit your quota, and that is it, right? So, I don't want to call out my ex. So I will say to you that I got into an argument with someone in a relationship over a restaurant, and the argument went something like this. I think we went to that restaurant as we were driving past it, and we had gone to a lot of restaurants. And she turned to me and said, no, we haven't. Now, a normal person, I think, if you had said something like that, would have given you an out. Like, I don't think we went to that restaurant, which would be a fine comment, right? It's not so definitive. But she said no. So that was my 50th moment, and I said, whoa, 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 whoa. You can't be sure we've never gone to that restaurant. We've gone to a lot of restaurants. She doubled down and said, no, I am sure we have never been in that restaurant. Well, then I became even more convinced we were in that restaurant, and that's where the argument started. So it's just Crowder decided his moment was his pregnant wife wouldn't put medicine on his dog because the warning label on the medicine said, if you're pregnant, don't touch the medicine. Crowder's point was just put on gloves and give the dog his medicine. And she wouldn't do it, and they got into a big blow up about it. And everybody's saying, he berated her. No, he's not berating her. He's arguing with her. And his wife is pregnant, so her hormones are like, and on top of everything else, on top of the fact she's just female. So, and then Crowder had a point at one point in the argument. She says, I love you, Stephen, but. And that's what is infuriating sometimes when someone says something like, I love you, but, or I love you, and they just keep saying I love you as if like, well, I love you, so just listen to me. That's what it turns into. I love you, so just listen to me. And then Crowder said something stupid like, well, no, you don't love me, or I don't love you. Like, you don't want to take it that far, but it is stupid when you're in a relationship, and a lot of times you get into these arguments. I've gotten to one very similar, like, I love you, but, and it's like, you're saying but. You're saying I love you, but. Do you hear yourself saying the but part? So it can be very frustrating. And I'm not taking sides with Crowder. I'm sure he's tough to deal with. He's under a lot of pressure. He does a lot of things. I know I'm missing your comments. I'll catch up in a minute. I got to make this point. So, you can't take sides on this. It's the guy's marriage. All right, I got to catch up now. Kite. Yeah, that was a minor argument, if anything. Yeah. I've seen arguments from people who have been together now 50 years. Yeah. Yeah. And you just got to let it roll off your back sometimes. And sometimes it escalates. In his case, it's a shame because he's having kids. A lot came together for him. He's having twins, and he got dropped by the Blaze, had to make this big move, had to move his business, which worked, but unfortunately his marriage suffered under it, and they moved to Texas. That's another big thing, another big strain on the relationship. I think she probably should have just hung in. But that's just me. I don't know. Maybe he's impossible to deal with. I don't know. He does sound kind of annoying, but everybody sounds annoying in their home life. You want certain things, you expect certain things, you marry somebody, and then it turns out, oh, I never do that. Like, what? I thought you would, and now I'm never going to have that. We're never going to have that, huh? Okay. Ardent. I'm naturally argumentative. Stormy is not. I hate it. Well, I mean, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to dig down into your relationship. It's easy to talk about Steven Crowder. I don't know. Kite, she was a hormonal 8-month prego. He was adrenaline fueled because of his pain medical issues. Yeah, that's another factor. At the time of a major surgery, that vid was cut expertly. It seems Crowder says if it continues, he will. Ardent, Crowder is getting F'd by editing. Yeah, I guess. I mean, look, I just wouldn't put any stock in it. You don't know the full context, and it's their relationship. He didn't hit her, so who cares? They said things. It's like when Alec Baldwin left a nasty message for his daughter on an answering machine once, and they played that on the news. I forget what he called her. He called her like a I don't know, like a pig or something. It's not nice, but it's his daughter. He's allowed to lose his temper at his daughter and go nuts. because he's the dad. He can do that once in a while. And I don't like Alec Baldwin by any stretch, but if it's his daughter, I forget what he said to her. He said something kind of mean, but you don't know the context. She could be a spoiled a-hole. Look, Crowder's wife might be a great person. There are people defending her. But it also could be true that she's exaggerating her symptoms. She's hormonal, pregnant, demanding because she's been living this rich life, and Steven doesn't have time for her BS because he's under so much pressure. You don't know. Kite, release the whole back catalog of BS, and from experience, he has always had a habit of receipts. If there's a but, she's lying. Yeah, I mean, it's this weird standard, I think, that a lot of women have. Like, they think because, well, I've said I've loved you, therefore, there's these expectations, and you're not living them, so I'm saying I love you, and it's really annoying because it's a different meaning. I think the words mean something different to a lot of women than men. To a lot of men, they're like, oh, she loves me. Oh, she loves me. She's in love with me. That means we're going to be together, and that's going to be great. No, that's naive, unfortunately. Relationships are work. That's the problem. Ardent, Tony, Stormy agrees, women be nuts. Clint, I love your butt. Clint, my daughter is bailing on her marriage. We always argue. Oh, boy. That's rough. Well, if they don't have kids, it's not too bad. Because if they don't have kids, essentially all they were doing is living together for a while. That's kind of my former situation. We didn't have kids, so no one got hurt but us. It was a big waste of time and money and whatever, but sure. But if you have kids, that to me is a different story. Ardent at Clint, my take, you only argue if you're invested. JC, everyone who worked with Crowder ended up hating him. Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to be the boss. And it's very demanding business. And, I don't know. I don't know what his money situation is. Maybe he's tight with the cash on the way out the door. It's not a good look. But it could also be true that they're looking, because it's the internet, and he's a more internet-based guy. It's not like TV. So in the world of the internet, you can gain some fame by piling on to a guy who's on his way down. So I don't think necessarily Dave Landau was doing that, but Dave Landau was in a different situation. He already had a bit of a comedy career when he came to Crowder. I think he felt a little bit slighted. But again, I think he should have stuck with it, because now Crowder's in a better position to do more. He would have had his own show. I think he should have toughed it out, but it's easy to say that. I wasn't there. I've had plenty of people who have had opportunities, and I go, why didn't you stay? Why didn't you just tough it out? And they go, I couldn't tough it out. I just couldn't stand it anymore. That guy's a jackass. But I wasn't there. Ardent at JEC, nah, he's got guys working for him who have been his friends for 20 years. He can't be that much of an asshole. Nah, I don't know. I mean, look, again, everybody's in it. The boss is always the a-hole. You gotta be. Sometimes you just gotta be. JC, Crowder's surgery was elective. He lied about what it was for. Maybe. I don't know. He said, I don't know. But Clint Miller, she has an autistic son. Oh, Crowder's wife does? That's rough too to deal with. JC, everyone says he's extremely cheap. Maybe. I mean, look, again, it's tough. It's tough to build a business. Everybody called me cheap when I was publishing comics. Some of the guys I worked with were like, you don't spend any money. I go, I don't have any money. And I would open the books at times and show them, like, look, we're not making any money here. Now, he's at a different level. He's got a house and stuff. And with people at that level, what's making a lot of money? It's kind of hard to say. I mean, he has built up a brand. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it other than it's really tough. It's a cutthroat business, and there are plenty of nice guys who don't have a show anymore. And you don't want to end up like those guys. You don't want to end up to be the nice guy. Oh, he was so nice, but yeah, the show got canceled. There wasn't enough money. And that's it. They go back to being a nobody. When you want this, you got to fight for it. And sometimes you step on some toes on the way. So I'm not defending him. Maybe he's a total D-bag behind the scenes, but there are two sides to this. It's really tough to run a business like this and build it up. Kite, you cannot be a boss and everyone's friend. Rule 1, friends take liberties, yet Crowder tried many times. Yeah, it's so tough. Just being when I was in improv groups, it was so tough because we needed to work on things like promotion and getting shows, and it'd just be a nightmare because nobody was in charge, yet everybody was in charge. And then the moment somebody would be in charge, everybody would start complaining about, oh, that person's changed. He's changed. He's bossing us around. Yeah, he's trying to take charge of things. Ardent, Nick DiPaolo doesn't strike me as someone to put up with an a-hole boss either, says Ardent. That's a good point. I bet he's nice to Nick DiPaolo. But then again, Nick DiPaolo's in a different position. He's coming from a position of strength. He had a podcast, had a bit of an audience. Now, I think he's doing better with Steven. I think it's a step up for him, but, he was almost kind of where Steven was. Clint Miller, nope, Tony, my daughter has an autistic son. Oh. That's rough. It's rough. It's rough on a relationship. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work when you have a kid who's autistic or has another handicap. Puts a tremendous strain on a relationship. And I know a lot of people who have had kids who are autistic or they have special needs or whatever, and they end up getting divorced because it's just too much. One person has to put in constant time. It's rough. JC, he's a big phony. Everything about him is fake. He's not even an American. He's from Montreal. That is true. He says that all the time, though. It's not like he lies about that. Plus, he's a closet homosexual. He is? I never heard that. I don't think that's going to come out anytime soon, but we'll see. Kite, elective is still a surgery, but this shows prior you could see the issues he was having. So not so sure it was a lie. The only people outwardly, this is the worst ever, Crowder already hate him. True. At JEC from Ardent, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu isn't homosexuality. Look, I don't know what the truth is. I watch Crowder's show on occasion. I like him, as a host, morning host. He's not really a comedian. I like his impersonation sometimes. I don't think he's funny enough, but he could be funnier. I think Dave Landau is a huge loss for the show. It's a shame. He was really funny. But I think they did have creative differences. I could just tell from the show sometimes. And just from the conversation with his wife, you can see like he's very exacting. He wants what he wants, and that's it. And if you don't give it to him, he's just gonna berate you and say, "Why haven't I gotten this? It's about this, this, and this." He's ready to argue everything. He argues very similar, like to his show. I wouldn't want to get into an argument with Steven Crowder. I'd throw up my hands and go, "Okay, boss, whatever you want, I'll do it. Just let me work." You're gonna dock my pay? Okay. But that's me. See, I let too many things slide. And that's why I don't have a show like his. JC, it was cosmetic surgery. He told everyone his blood wasn't getting enough oxygen or something when he really was going to get his pecs done. Is that true? I thought he had a problem with like his sternum or something. I don't know, something that was on. I had a friend, one of my artist buddies, he had to have an operation that was very similar. Like his sternum was growing weird against his heart, and he had to have an operation to open up his rib cage or something a little bit. That's what it sounded like to me. I mean, it does happen. I don't know. Who says he's lying? I mean, have you seen the medical records? That would be the only way to know for sure. And, you know, yeah, there are people who are saying he's lying, but he's got a lot of enemies. So, Kite. I think Dave dragged on jokes too long when Crowder wanted to get to the news. And at the end of the day, it was his show. Dave said, it's because I was funny when it wasn't. I don't know. I think Dave is, you're right. Dave wanted more comedy and Crowder wanted more activism. But the show needs more comedy, I think. If I had been producing that show, I would have been just like, let Dave talk more. He's funny. Yeah, but he derails the show. So what? It's funny. Would have been my attitude, but I think it's a lot of drama over nothing when it at the end of the day. He didn't hit anybody. He's getting a divorce. I feel for the guy. Divorces suck. And I think it's a shame because now he's finally on his own. I think he's doing okay on his own. Maybe he's not making as much money, but now that he's on his own, he's got nowhere to go but up. I think in a year, everybody will forget about most of this, unless a bunch of stuff comes out during the divorce. And if his wife is smart, I think she'll just shut up and take her money and go. But it never happens that way in a divorce. I think a lot of times, especially in something this high profile, I think, who knows what's going to happen. It's a shame because his kids were just born. Like, he just had these kids. So, it's really a shame. I feel bad for the kids, most of all, because now she's going to be single mom, dating guys with 2 babies. And he's going to have visitation rights. I mean, Jesus. That's awful. It's awful enough when the kids are older. When the kids, they can't even walk yet. Carter, what about Candace Owens getting involved? How much does this escalate the Daily Wire feud? I don't know. I mean, the Candace Owens thing, that could just be like them throwing salt in the wounds because they looked really bad, initially at least, when Crowder exposed them, quote unquote, however you think of that. So, this could just be payback at this point. I don't think Crowder did himself any favors by trying to drag the Daily Wire into it. And I don't think the Daily Wire is going to get much out of if Candace sues him. I mean, what is that going to do exactly? Let's say she wins and gets a big settlement. Then Crowder goes down the tubes and you've basically proved his point. Oh, big corporate right-wingers crushed the little guy again. If you just let it go, people will forget about it in a week. Hopefully, she's not really serious about suing him. Kite. I honestly think Crowder made the YouTube dump button for Dave, but Dave saw his out and is now exaggerating because he's going to people already angry at Crowder for leaving them. The Blaze. That could be very true. That could be his move. I don't know. I saw it when he was still on the show. I could see him bristling under Crowder. I could tell he wasn't happy. A couple of times Crowder would cut him off or, step on his joke or whatever. And you could tell Dave was kind of annoyed. And half asleep most of the time too. So I think he was genuinely annoyed with him. And their politics don't align that closely. I don't think Dave's right for the Blaze, quite frankly. Dave is, to me, a more straight up a regular comedian. Like, he's not a political guy. Not really. He is a regular comedian. And he's just funny, and he just wants to do comedy. He's just fallen in because he got involved with Steven, and now they hire. Maybe it's true. I mean, you make a point. Ardent agreed, Kite. Because I think this is just the area he's fallen into. He's fallen into the right wing sphere of the new comedy. Greg Gutfield, Steven Crowder, and all these guys that are going to be in the forefront of the new wave of comedy. Ardent, I'd like to be on Louder with Crowder just to meet Joe Lewis. I mean, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I don't think Crowder did anything particularly wrong in the video. He's just arguing with his wife. He had an expectation of privacy. I think his wife's insane for releasing that video. I think she's utterly insane for doing that. I think she really hurt him with that video. But that's what divorce is all about. When you get mad at each other, it's just like, oh, I'm just going to hurt you. I don't think she proved anything other than, yeah, they're getting a divorce. Yeah, no kidding. I mean, you could have had a ring video from any day of the week when they're having a fight, and I'm sure it would have been just as nasty and vicious. And yeah, it's usually the husband berating the wife. Usually, sometimes it's the opposite, but usually it's the husband, because we tend to be more aggressive, and our wives tend to go out and spend ungodly amounts of money on things we don't need. So, you know, but everybody's different too, so there are different people doing different things out there, and some of it's weird. Some of it's very weird. Kite, I mean, like, I like Dave, but as I said before, Dave would take jokes on too long, screwing up segues for subpar laughs, and a lot of time. For every banger joke, he had 10 flops like everyone does. I thought he had a better record than that, but, you know, I thought, I just think in general, Crowder's show isn't that funny. It's okay. It's pretty good sometimes, but a lot of times, like all his parodies, they're mostly kind of the same. I mostly skip them when I watch the show. I start seeing the parody, and if it isn't funny instantly, I skip right past it to the opening of the show, because it's never that great. It's like a song parody. It's okay. It's kind of close, but they're never great. I don't think he has a lot of great comedy writers. Dave was kind of the best guy he had. Maybe that redheaded kid. I don't know. Crowder's thing is he's good at voices. He's really good at voices. And a lot of times that's funny. It's not so much the material, it's his voices, in my view. Aurelius is here. Crowder's show has a loud cadence I really dislike. Well, I think that's what it's kind of supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be like a bunch of knuckleheads sitting around, kind of like the Stern Show used to be. Ardent, the music videos are getting tired. Yeah, they're all the same. It's like, okay, point made. Like he used to do that bit with I forget the character's name. I don't know. I guess he's one of the writers. He would do this weird traffic report. The bit would never go anywhere. I don't know who thought it was funny. It was one of those like meta comedy things that like it's funny because it's so bad, but it was just bad to me. I hate the meta stuff, by the way. I hate meta. Just do a comedy bit. Do something funny, or don't do it. Kite, music videos originally fun, but getting tired, I think. JC, Crowder was the original voice actor for Arthur the Aardvark. Oh, he was. Neat. I think he mentioned that one time. He's a really good... I mean, his voices are great. I wish he'd do more. I mean, I wish he'd do something with that in a video. Ardent, he almost Rich Little good at voices. Great Gilbert Gottfried. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, and they should play on that more. They should do bits, and like the opening bits of the show, those videos which he's mentioned before cost them a lot of money to do, and they sometimes do. It's like they're spending too much money on them. I can sense they're spending way too much money on them to make these things look really good when they don't have to be that good. They just have to be funny. And they're just not that funny. Like that's why I say Dave's bits were usually funnier, because Dave would do bits in the office that were usually pretty good, or a character, and he didn't need a lot of makeup, he didn't need a lot of anything, because he was just funny, I think. But again, he was the funniest guy on the show of fairly funny guys, I guess. I mean, the rest of the crew, they're just kind of there. Kite, once or twice an election year would be enough. I just think he should do more regular sketches, based on, like, if he did a Trump sketch, it would be fun. Like Kyle Dunningham, he does voices and he's great. He did Trans Trump on his show. It's friggin' awesome. Trans Trump is one of the funniest characters ever. He also does Alec Baldwin, which kills me every time. Just absolutely kills me. I wish Crowder would have Kyle on the show and have them both do voices. My God, that would be nuts. JEC, or Kite says, JEC, he was the voice of the Brain on the Arthur show. Oh. I think he's mentioned the Arthur show. He was the voice of the Brain? I didn't watch the Arthur show, so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I just think this is all more internet drama. And Candace Owens, keep in mind, she used to be very left-leaning not very long ago. And I think she saw her opportunity to some extent and flipped. Now, I think a lot of people who do this kind of stuff, what their personal beliefs are kind of don't matter. They just rationalize it wherever the money is. And they just go forward like that. It doesn't mean Candace Owens was always a left-wing person. Perhaps she was a right-wing person lying about being a left-wing person and just decided, no, I'm going to tell the truth. Or vice versa. I don't know. But, she's got a past too. She's, people in glass houses. And really, when they talk about the right side of all this and the movement, they often call it the movement on the right side. So far, the only guy who's been fairly squeaky clean, I think, is Mark Dice, who he's got his own video on Crowder. You should see that. Watch Mark Dice's videos on Crowder. Because, man, you want to see a guy who has receipts. Mark Dice doesn't play around, because he's a one-man operation. So he has literally no one to answer for, and he's got millions of subscribers. So that gives him the power to basically, I don't need any of you guys. Whereas Crowder did have, once you get a whole business going, it's like, he's got to make money. He's got to save the business. You can't just save yourself. And plus, for Mark Dice, he could close up shop tomorrow. I'm sure he's got millions at this point. I mean, a guy with millions of followers on YouTube, and he was monetized. I don't think he is anymore. But he was monetized for a long time. Yeah, I'm sure he's got millions. Kite, still, she is just grifting for the cash. Can almost guarantee her position flopped too fast to be a legitimate awakening from leftist indoctrination. Possibly. You don't know, though. Maybe she was never on board with it, because you can be just as phony on the left as you can be on the right. And if it's on TV, if it's on YouTube, most of it's phony. Like, the appealing thing about YouTube and videos like this and live streams is, if it's like one guy, it feels very authentic, right? Now, for me, even me, I put on my radio voice, because I do have some training in broadcasting, and I have a good voice for this, and so, and I want to present myself in certain ways. I don't expose myself 100%. You got to draw the line somewhere. Sticks and Hammer does that too. Like, he won't talk about his kid, won't show his kid, doesn't talk about his personal life, and that to me is sensible. I do that too. So there's always a line to be drawn, but that can quickly turn in, because what happens is, like, so for instance, my hottest video that I ever had was about motorcycle clubs, and and I got 100,000 hits, and I actually made like a couple of $100 on just that one video, and it was crazy. It was just nuts. But I had gotten the story wrong, and I didn't want to be known for that video. Like, if I had gone down that path, I could have become the motorcycle club guy who does videos about motorcycle clubs. I could have done that because I was getting a ridiculous amount of hits. But I didn't want to do that, so I deleted the video eventually. And but if I had done that, I would have been a complete phony, because I don't ride a motorcycle. I'm not into motorcycles. I wouldn't get on a motorcycle if he paid me. But I could have done that. I could have pretended to. And I could have made videos and gone to a motorcycle rally. Here I am at Sturgis and blah, blah, blah. And I probably would have made some money. But I didn't want to do that. It's the people, but I could see another YouTuber doing that, absolutely. There's a rumor that one of these YouTubers, he became trans just to get hits. Kite, you can be phony on the left, yes, but you're likely to be found out. They are that quick to go after their own, but the right, however, welcome everyone leaving the left even if they only end up centrist. To some extent, yeah. But no, you can still push the correct buttons on the left. You just have to be the right category. So, for instance, the person I just mentioned who became trans, who transitioned on YouTube, totally embraced by the left with no question. No question whatsoever. Clint Miller, broadcast training with that big mid-Atlantic accent, Tony? Hey, what are you talking about? What kind of accent? You have the accent, Clint. Sorry. It's WNBC. I had a little. I majored in communications. So, I know how to do the weather. 43 degrees right now. It's raining outside. Here's the traffic. Yeah, I mean, for YouTube, though, it's all about being authentic. So people feel much more betrayed by someone like Crowder than, say, I don't know, if Crowder was like a anchor on the nightly news and you heard this, you probably wouldn't, you'd probably laugh, but, he'd go right back to being the news guy. Ardent, I would identify as a body-positive black Hindu woman if it got me guaranteed clicks. Bad enough unread BBC Pigden stories on my stream. You could do it. But you got to commit to the bit. Kite. Don't do it, by the way. Kite, that's mostly because trans is the current protected class, so they can't call the person a liar or the real leftists themselves is out. Well, yeah, that's it, exactly it. But that's the, same thing as being on the right. It would be suddenly like, oh, I've left leftist indoctrination and I've found Jesus. And Black China just did that, by the way. I'm not sure who she is. I thought she was a wrestler girl, but I think she was a model. But she had all her various things removed from her body, like she had lip injections and buttock implants, and I think she had breast implants, and then so she got all this surgery and then found Jesus and is getting her tattoos removed and is becoming Christian. So I think that's probably a real transformation for her. I think most of the early ones will probably be real. I think when it gets hot to become anti-woke, That's when the phonies will, the people will stampede out of the woke and into the anti-woke. And it'll be like, oh, I've always been trained. I never bought into this woke stuff. Yeah, I might have posted some stuff online, but I was indoctrinated. I'm the real victim here. I'm the victim. Ardent, head of my state does blackface. Why can't I? Well, you know why. Ardent, Black China was one of the hoes from a reality show. Oh. Oh, I think she had an OnlyFans, too. But, you know, maybe she saw the writing on the wall, or maybe she just said, enough of this nonsense. I'm gonna try to become a proper person for my kids, maybe. Respectable. It's just the way things are going. People are so, like, back in my day, in the 80s, if I saw a girl with pink hair, I was like, oh man, it's a punk girl. Cool. That was cool. Because they were incredibly rare. The only place you would see a girl with like pink or bright green day glow hair would have been Philadelphia on South Street back in the 80s. It's the only place you would have saw them. Nowhere else. Maybe a college campus. That was it. Now you see them everywhere. So now it's like, oh great, another pink-haired moron probably going to lecture me about something stupid. Kite, but when the trans aren't the protected and instead it's some other class who, by boy, the left's gonna lose more. Ain't she someone who raps? No, she's a reality show apparently. I don't know what protected class they can move to. I don't think they will. I think, look, this happened before, right? So you had the hippies, and they were super progressive, and everybody's peace, love, brotherhood, man. No war, yeah, peace, love. Maybe communism can't work, man. We'll all have peace and love. And then it just fell off a cliff because it became not fun anymore. So there were protests, and then they got violent and dark, and then people stopped going to them because they were no longer a cool hangout where you smoked pot and walked around in your bare feet. They became this like angry thing that only the hardcore people would show up for, and then the cops would beat you up. And so people got radicalized, and some of them went into the Weather Underground, did terrible things, and then most people just went back to their lives and then had kids, and that was it. So the same thing's going to happen again to all these people, except some will go to jail and become hardened criminals. Some will become radical activists who will forever plague us with their nonsense. And then most of them will just melt back into their lives, have kids, and then when they talk about their days as a radical, it'll depend on what crowd they're in, right? So if they're in a crowd of a bunch of other progressive rich people, let's say, they'll say, oh yeah, I went to Portland, I was with Antifa, I threw a bomb, I punched a cop, I did this, I did that. But when they're trying to get into some exclusive church that's become the hot thing to do because now celebrities are all going back to church, that's going to happen, by the way, they are going to say, oh no, I was never part of that, I got roped into it by my boyfriend, or I got roped into it because of the girl I was dating. I was never really part of it, you see. I went because you had to go. I didn't want to get beaten up. That's what they'll do. Ardent, punk girls were awesome when I was in college in the 90s. Now it's David Attenborough voice. In the wild, poisonous creatures will often develop bright plumage to ward off predators. I got the voice at the end. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Punk, being trad is the new punk. Being cool means you're going to be conservative. You're going to have kids. You're going to have a job. You're going to have a traditional marriage. That's the new conservative. Or that's the new punk. It's a new punk. It's all gone too far. Punks were all about, shaking their fist at the man. They were the new hippie. Hippie, it was cool. It was, when the hippies were around, that was the cool thing. Everybody was a hippie because that's cool. But then there got to be too many hippies, and then it didn't become cool anymore. So everybody started taking cocaine and going to discos. And then Going to discos was cool, and wearing leisure suits and ugly clothes and listening to terrible music and dancing all night and going to Studio 54. Then that was cool. And then it was disco sucks. Then it was America's cool. And it was 1980s and people were waving American flags and watching Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie theaters. And then that was cool. But then people got sick of that. We were making, by the way, all those Vietnam movies to refight Vietnam in the movies and win. Then, Rambo went out of vogue, and then the 80s gave way to the 90s, and it was all nihilistic. It was like, I'm not into that, man. I just, like, sit around in my ripped jeans and flannel shirts and listen to Nirvana and act like a idiot. Then in 2000, we went back to, America again. I'm going to sign up for the army. I'm going to fight them over there so we don't have to fight them over here. And now, then we went into the woke. And the woke is like way progressive beyond because, again, just like during the Cold War, when the hippies were around, the communist infiltrators are funding groups behind the scenes in order to push this stuff to degenerate the culture, to distract everyone so they could get a leg up on the international stage. That's what it's for. That's the way it works. That's what communists do. They can't win militarily. They can't win economically. They can't win morally. They can kind of win socially, but only if they capture all the media institutions and the culture. But they can totally win culturally from under coming up. It's like they dug under the culture and came up and say, hey, kids, want to be a commie? And they all went, yeah, that sounds cool. But now everybody's a commie, and now it's just annoying. So everybody's starting to bail. Ardent. Ironically, conservative is the new rebellion. Yeah, it's a new punk. PJW called it like 2-3 years ago. He's got a video on it. Look that up. And he's right. He's right. Johnny Rotten voted for Trump. He's got dual citizenship, by the way. And he is the punk, Johnny Rotten. And he's a very traditional guy. His poor wife just died of cancer. No, Alzheimer's. But he took care of her all the way up until the end. And good for him. There's a man who stuck with his wife. And I totally 100% respect Johnny Rotten for that. You know, any other celebrity could have said, you know what, I'll just put her in a home and I'll go out and bang chicks. Nope. He stuck with her to the end and took care of her, and good on him. And, he's a real dude. I'll say. He means to me, Johnny Rotten's a guy who means what he says. He's one of those rare guys who actually means it. So, like, Brexit was the Trump of the UK, and he would go on talk shows, as he often did, and he said something like, I support Brexit because the people support it. And, he was like one of the few celebrities in the UK who did. Ardent, Johnny Rotten is a good man. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't get much gooder than that. When you stick it to the end while your wife slowly disintegrates from Alzheimer's, you're being a good person. Total respect for that. There are plenty of examples of celebrities, man, they just bail. And plenty of people who just bail on their marriages and relationships when things get tough, even a little tough. And you just don't. If you're actually in love, you don't bail on a relationship. You don't say, oh, this is tough, I'm leaving. You stick it out, especially if you have kids. If you don't have kids, maybe, but, you got to try to stick it out, or else, your relationship was essentially BS. So most of the people I know, and my relatives, they're all still married. They'll stay married to the end. They don't get divorced. They look at divorce like, hey, no, the poor person got divorced. They're all still couples running around in my circles, but they're all older than me. I'm like the youngest of a, and everybody above me is like, they're all still married. The divorces started with my generation, I think. Um, but you know, uh, wow, we covered a lot, didn't we? Covered a lot. I thought I had to go to the Jersey Devil stuff, but then, thanks for bringing up Crowder. That opened up a can of worms, didn't it? I totally forgot about that, quite frankly. Should have had that in the back pocket. That was a good topic. It was a good topic to talk on. But yeah, I don't wish the guy any ill will. He hasn't done anything to me, and hopefully they'll work something out. They eventually will have to because they have kids together. He's going to be paying through the nose though, although maybe not, because it is Texas, and Texas is still a state where you can basically fight your ex in court. And if you can prove like unfaithfulness or anything like that, you can get some justice. You can't in a no fault state. I couldn't do it in New Jersey, or you can't do it in California. There's a few states they're no fault. It doesn't matter if your wife cheats or anything. So that's rough. That's rough. That's got to be real rough. So, he could get justice in Texas, but who knows? Who knows? It's none of my business. Carter Jane, you're welcome, Tony. Thank you, Carter. If you can't donate money, at least donate a topic, I say. All right. Speaking of, wrapping up. It is 9:41, so we've been at it for 2 hours and 41 minutes. So we should have final thoughts. Final thoughts. We've covered a lot today. We covered the box office. We covered Crowder, a little bit on the Jersey Devil, and a bunch of movies and comics I probably won't see. What's up? What's up for next week? Well, next week I'm going to LBI on Sunday, starting at 2. So I'll probably have to push back the live stream to 9 next week. We'll see. I will be at Level Up Entertainment the day before on Saturday from 10 to 5. Ardent, who the F wrote that clause into the divorce laws? Effing a-hole. Yeah. Yeah, says Ardent. Yeah, it's bad. Well, what they were trying to do was streamline the process so people wouldn't take... Because what happens in a divorce, and it happens in many divorces, usually the only person who gets rich are the lawyers, because what they do is they wind up the woman because they're usually the most emotional about it, and then she's like, oh, I'm gonna sue him. Oh, you could sue him for this and this and this. Oh, okay. And usually it's like the man has the money and the woman's going after the money. So that's what happens. They wind up the woman and they just drag it through the court. And it's this arduous thing where literally the couples litigate their fights, their couple fights in court. And judges probably, I could see, say, screw this. Why are we having this? Ardent, have a good night, amigo. Stormy says, you lifted her spirits. Oh, that's nice. My final thought, you don't have to be an asshole, but it can be entertaining. Good night. Yeah, so no fault divorce is you just get divorced. You fill out the paperwork and you're out the door. So that it's just that your behavior, you can't litigate any of your fights because they don't matter. You can go into court and waste all the money you want saying, he cheated on me or whatever. Don't matter. Don't matter to the final payment. Doesn't matter. The money doesn't matter in that. They're all standardized. So the idea was to standardize divorce so you could just sort of zip through. Which, for some people, that works out fine. Kite. LOL, true that. That's why I'm an a-hole, says Kite. So, like, I've known people who did divorce, and I did it too. My divorce was just the paperwork. We paid the fee and filled out the paperwork. We didn't have a long, arduous thing, and that part of it was good. We just had to show up in court, and the judge went over the paperwork and said, you agree to this and agree to that. And we said yes, because we had all filled it out ahead of time and agreed to it. And then we walked out of court and we were divorced. And there was a couple other things to it, but that's basically it. So it was relatively painless, that part of it. Whereas, if you don't have that, and one person is aggrieved, it doesn't have to be both of you, it just has to be one. And I'm not a lawyer, but this is my understanding. You could just drag that person through the court. Now, if you're the person who's aggrieved and you have the money and the other person doesn't, that could get really messy, right? Like, so if you have a husband who's aggrieved and he has the money and the wife doesn't have any money, really, you know, it can get very messy. But on the other side of that, in the state of New Jersey anyway, the person with the money had to pay for the lawyer of the other person. So if the person who's paying for both lawyers wants to wrap it up, but the other person feels aggrieved, like the wife feels aggrieved, well, she could just drag it out in the court just to stick it to her husband, right? So it's not a good thing. The bottom line is divorce has become, and family court, I think, has become a big scam for big money for lawyers. And really, we should go to a system that's more, I think Sweden has a system. You don't get any money. You get like a little bit, I think. I think the kids get a standard rate and that's it. Like, I think the most you can get in Sweden, I want to say it's Sweden. Like, the most you get is like a couple of grand. Like, if you don't have a job or something. But other than that, the judge won't. It's unheard of to have these hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, and you just don't get that money. You just don't get it. Or you split it or something like that. So it's very simple under that sort of ruling. I think that would be a better way to go in the United States, but every state here has a different rule. I would say, depending on the state you're in, you might want to reconsider marriage, because you have to pay for a kid regardless. So, like, for kids in the United States, you're going to have to pay child support regardless, whether you're divorced or together. Well, if you're together, you're not going to pay child support, but because you're living together. But like, it's made marriage almost superfluous. The only thing it's really for is for people who are religious or people who want their kids to say, well, your mom and dad are married, right? And that's what it's really for, which is why the government should just be out of it. The government should just be completely out of the marriage game. The only thing the government should do is have contracts for people who are living together to say, okay, you're living together, here's your contract. You're going to be each other's medical contact, you're going to split rent and split your money when you leave, like whatever it says on your contract, that's what you do. But that should be separate from marriage, and then anybody can do it, right? So you wouldn't even have to be married. You wouldn't even have to be in a romantic relationship. Maybe you have two roommates who buy a house together, and they're just friends. There's nothing between them, but they share a business maybe, and they share a place to live, and they just decide, oh, we'll sign it too, and then, we could just support each other, and then if we go our separate ways, we'll split everything. I mean, that's all you need to do. But that's my take on marriage. The government should be completely out of the marriage business. Then, it would just be, well, what's in your contract? And whatever you sign, you sign. You wouldn't even have to sign it if you're married, right? You could say, well, we're not signing it. If you don't want to do that. You get married and you get divorced. Well, I never signed a contract with my spouse. Oh, well, I guess I got to leave. He owns a house. I mean, it could be sad, but... And then, let's be honest, rich people, they sign their own contracts. They sign their own prenups. I'd like to see Trump's prenup. Maybe get some money. I mean, he's a billionaire. He takes care of his wives. I don't think any of them complained about the money on the back end. So, you take care of people, and I think everybody's generally okay with that unless they're a psycho. The prenup was really for the psychos. But the bottom line is, vet your wife. And on that note, I'm out of here. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm going to get some more iced tea. I'm going a little dry because I haven't had a sip in several minutes. I'm going to go see what Joan pooped on. Be back next week. Check out my videos today, Piney Podcast and all the usual stuff. Kite says, well, gotta go to have stream games at midday. Cool. What a wonderful week, everyone. Have a wonderful week, everyone. I'll see you soon. Have a wonderful week, my friend. See you all in the next one. Oh, oh, you're leaving too? LOL. All right. Check you later. All right. And